Hey guys, this is kind of like a last minute thing. So I'm watching the trial and they have an argument in the morning and they're like, oh yeah, that asking if Alex can have special treatment basically. So if he testifies, he can't be cross-examined on the financial stuff. Sorry if you hear me typing. I'm just putting in a few tags in my thing because it was so last minute. But basically, they were like, the judge was like, no, he can't get preferential treatment. His protection is that he can choose not to testify. You know, like it's either he testifies or he doesn't. He doesn't get preferential treatment. So they go to swear him in. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's going to testify. So they swore him in and he said he's going to testify. They have one Nolan Tootin on the stand right now. Yeah, I like the snow too since you don't have to go anywhere. But then, you know, having to shovel and do all that stuff is annoying. But so anyway, he swears in. He says he's going to testify. And they have Nolan Tootin on real quick. He said he's going to be a short witness, and then Alex is going to come on. So I figured, you know what? Let me just throw this up, and we'll watch it together. Yeah, for sure. He really thought he was going to get preferential treatment. Like, he really did. All right. But I'm going to leave this on for 1 second.
Clarification.
And I'm going to go run and grab my drink real quick.
Your plans to meet up with Paul on June 7th.
Right.
Was that plan to address the issue you had seen in the with sunflowers?
That's right.
Okay. No further questions.
By state.
Nolan, good morning. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Doing well. Nolan, we've met a bunch of times, right? Prior to trial, we've met in Colleton, we've met elsewhere. We've had quite a few conversations, is that fair to say?
We have.
And you've had a lot of conversations with law enforcement also. They were sometimes there at the meetings.
Yes.
You were as close a friend as Paul as there could be.
I feel like that, yes.
And I just want you to say again, he was the kind of guy that if you needed
super
something
loud.
in the middle of the night, you
All
can
right,
call.
I'm back. Y'all
Yes,
should
he was.
see me.
Was he going to be there for
He
you?
was
In
gonna
my
come.
morning robe.
Flat tire
next
side
to
of the
a
road.
blanket.
Paul's there for you.
He was there.
You also, I think, and Maggie, I think you refer to
I
you.
did.
Kind of, they adopted you into the family. You were treated like one of the group. Is that fair to say?
Anybody
That's right.
doesn't know who this is, I feel like this is really loud.
And what year did you graduate high school?
This is
2014.
Nolan.
And what year
Newton.
was Paul at Wade Hampton
He is.
He didn't go to Wade.
graduating high school? Sorry.
I want to say 17, maybe
So-
17 or 18.
So you were a little older than Paul.
That's right. He was the same age as my younger brother, Nate.
And your younger brother, I know we already
They
heard,
said
we
he's gonna be
it's
a
Nathan too,
short
right? And
witness
he testified
before they put Paul
previously
up.
in this trial.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, not Paul, Alex.
So your
So they're going
high
to
school would actually
and then
align
Alex is
with
coming up.
Buster's.
more Busters, and Paul was a little younger.
That's right.
I think you mentioned that Paul was an avid cell phone user. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
He used it all the time.
Yep.
Which may be part of the reason why he was so responsive when you needed something, because he always was there to answer the call. Is that
That's
fair
right.
to say?
Alex
Yep.
is coming on right after this guy.
Do you consider yourself someone that has a fair amount of knowledge about firearms?
I feel like it, yes.
Are you an avid hunter?
I am.
And you've had a lot of experience with firearms yourself,
I have.
and a lot of experience with the family's firearms? Kind of a knowledge of what people tend to use or favor?
Yes, sir.
And is it fair to say that, well, first, before we go there, let's talk about the 300 blackout. Paul's 300 blackout, I think you just testified to that they received as a Christmas gift.
Right.
Now, Buster's, when they 300 blackout was what color?
It was black.
And Paul's 300 blackout was what color?
It was like a sand color.
And you hanging out with Paul, and I'm going to talk about somewhere in like 2017, 2018. Did you go to a Halloween party with Paul?
We did.
Did you actually ride with him?
Yes.
And it wasn't uncommon for Paul to have his kind of favorite guns in the car with him. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
And on this occasion, when you went to this party, did Paul have that 300, his tan 300 blackout with him?
He did.
This is back in like 2017, 2018,
It was a while ago. Yes, sir.
before COVID.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
It gets time.
The new
to time,
designation, before
That's right.
COVID, after COVID.
Depending on who they have up.
And tell us what
Let me
happened.
know
What
if-
happened that night?
If you guys
we
can't
were
hear it,
at a
I turned it,
Halloween
halfway
party,
down because I feel like
and
it's so loud.
We had been
But,
around Moselle most
which
of the
is
day,
strange,
and
because it's usually
we
never this
left, and
loud.
then later on, the gun was gone. The gun was missing. Whether whatever happened to it.
I know.
It
I was hoping
we no
Alex
longer
would get
had.
up there too. I wanted to see cousin
So,
Eddie, really, but
It was there, and then y'all come back, and it's
cousin
it's
Eddie
out.
on you.
That's right.
Now this was a really nice rifle, right?
It was.
It was a fairly expensive rifle, and the scope on it is a very expensive scope.
That's right.
So it wasn't like it was misplaced. It was. Do you believe it was stolen?
I believe so. Yes.
All right. And then going to guns, did Paul have a shotgun that he favored?
He did.
Was it and have you paid attention to any of the trial?
I've watched some.
Okay.
Yes.
And is it without going ahead and rooting through the guns? Is
Hey,
it that
Sharon,
camo
good
in
morning.
color?
Alex is taking
the 3 that
After
the
this
state has in
witness, they
evidence.
said it's
That's
going to be
right.
really
That's
short.
Paul's shotgun.
That was the one he favored the most. Yes.
And then did Paul also have a 300 blackout on him at all times?
He did. Most
So
times.
what did Paul do after his rifle was stolen? What did he use then?
When his rifle was stolen, he more or less took Buster's as his own. So
Is he in Buster's? Is that because Buster really didn't use that very much?
Buster was in school, either in Wofford or in Columbia. So Buster came to Moselle a fair amount, but Paul was there more. And so Paul just, used it as his own.
And then Buster had a shotgun he'd favor. I think is it a Benelli Super Black Eagle Model 2?
That's right.
And do you know the differences between the Super Black Eagle models?
I do.
And I think your brother already testified to that, but there's markings on the shotguns that you can look at and tell if you know what you're looking for.
That's right.
And then I believe Alex favored us 1.
That's right. He
So-
either shot the 1 or the 2.
So we have 1, 2, and 3 models
Right.
for the same Benelli Super Black Eagle, but models 1, 2, and 3.
That's right.
And those are all 12 gauges typically that was
So
used.
they're
That's
asking
right.
him
Kind of
about
general
Paul's
use.
guns because they're trying to figure out. They're trying to imply, I think, that Paul's gun
I
was
think
stolen.
you mentioned that about
And that he
guns
didn't get a
being
new
left
one?
down at the kennel area. You said it was occasional. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
They weren't stored down there, right?
That's right.
Permanently. Nothing was stored down there.
No, nothing was stored down there.
And it was usually, if guns were left, would it be mostly in just the hunting seasons?
That's right.
Okay.
It would either be during,
Hey,
the
Nina.
hunting seasons or, if Paul was cleaning out his truck, he would.
And when are the hunting seasons for like deer and duck? Those hunting seasons.
Good morning,
Deer
Jen.
season
Sorry, I know I
is
typed it
typically
too,
in
but
the
I didn't
fall,
type it.
sometime
Yeah.
August to January. Duck season is, around Thanksgiving to the end of January. And turkey season is March 22nd to May 1st, somewhere around there.
Were you, and you spent a lot of time at Moselle. I think you already
Yeah.
talked about that. Were you around before the, how many entrances and exits are there at Moselle, the
There are
property? You were around before when there was only one entrance and
was.
exit? So when there was only one entrance and exit, the main entrance and exit, where was that one?
That was by the kennels.
And is that actually where the mailbox is?
That's right.
And I think packages are sent that way.
I mean, I don't know
typically
how
go to
this
the shed,
helps
to the
though,
hangar.
because
And then at some point in the future, a second exit was,
Oh.
or some brickwork was done sort of
Oh,
leading
wow.
from the
Like
house.
halfway down
Is that
is
accurate as
allowed.
well?
That is.
so
Um, and
don't
you
know
all
how
spent a
this
lot of
is gonna
time
help,
at the
though,
kennel
because
area, kind of the hangar
shelf
kennel
they
area.
found
We did.
had Paul's
It's
DNA
kind of a
on
good
them,
collection
so it had to
point
be
for whatever y'all were doing,
gun
whether it was
loaded
working on
by
the
Paul.
the heavy equipment there
So-
or hunting and getting ready
I don't know,
point
Yes, sir.
for y'all.
glitching for some
And I
reason.
think out there, there's also a processing shed for if
There
you
is.
killed anything.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna speed it up for a minute because I didn't realize
And
we're a little behind.
If you all are down there and, say, or Alex were at the house and they, obviously knew you were down there, would they tend to come drop by before they would leave just to see if y'all needed anything?
More often than not, yeah.
I think they're having like connection problems today because on another stream
And no one
it was
called-
really.
Is
I
it,
don't know what's going
and
on.
we've heard a lot about him. Is it fair to say that he had a lifestyle that was just fairly unpredictable?
Absolutely.
I mean, he was traveling the state, whether it was Columbia, Charleston, the Low Country, wherever. He was everywhere, right?
That's correct.
And he actually kept clothes in many different places just for that reason, because he was such a traveler.
He did.
So you talk to him almost every day, right?
That's right.
But for those that maybe weren't so close to him, it would be fairly hard to even know where he was going to be on any
Can you
given
guys
day,
hear it okay?
That's right.
unless you kept in frequent contact with him, right?
That's fair to say.
He was everywhere. Any given day
Keep
during the
turning
week,
it down
who
because I
knows
feel
where he
like
could
the
be.
volume is so loud,
Fair to say.
but I want to make sure everyone can hear it. All right.
All right. So I'm going to talk to you about June 7th, 2021. And that's the day you lost your best friend.
That's right.
And that's a tough day for you. Is that right?
It is.
Hey, K Braves.
I'm
I'm
You
so
talked to
hyped.
Paul that
Alex
day
is
on the
coming
phone.
on soon.
in the morning and afternoon times. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Why is it so behind?
And I know you just testified to it, but walk me through again, if you wouldn't mind. I believe y'all were talking about the sunflowers. They died.
We were.
And you often helped out on the farm. Is that also fair to say?
I did, yes.
Meaning farm related stuff, tilling the ground and planting seeds and all that stuff.
That's right.
You're pretty active in the maintaining of the duck ponds and the corn fields for the hunting purposes too, right?
That's right.
So if Paul needed something, he'd call on you.
That's right.
He'd call on you to help out.
Yes.
yeah,
that
I
what
think,
happened on
Linda, I think
Leading
it's
up to and on June
because
7th.
Yes, it
It's
was.
so loud.
He
I
knew that
found
I was
out.
riding by because typically when you spray something, it takes a couple days. Actually takes effect. So it happened. CB sprayed them. I want to say Thursday or Friday. So we really couldn't get a good idea of what was actually done, the harm that was actually done, until a few days later. And I was going to be riding by Moselle that morning to go to work. So I just swung in there to check on them and see what it was, where we could come up with a game plan on what to do.
And you had pretty free use of the property, meaning you could show up and come and go as you please. That wasn't weird, right?
That's right.
So the fact that you went there that morning to check on stuff, that's actually pretty normal
That's
for
right.
you. And so you show up on that morning and check the sunflowers, and they're dying. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So the decision was made that y'all would have to And why do you need sunflowers? What's the purpose of those?
They attract doves. We plant them, kind of corn, sunflowers.
So he had free room in the
dove
property.
So it's important
Interesting. I think
for
they're
hunting
trying
purposes. It's important to
to.
maintain a dove field. You called it a dove field
That's
or
right.
the sunflower field.
Yeah, it's a good attractant.
So
Oh,
the
I don't know if
was
you
the decision
killed
made then
the
to
sunflowers
till the field
immediately.
and replant the sunflowers.
That's correct.
It wasn't too late in the year in the season.
That's right.
And this is something you're pretty familiar with and you've done a number of times before with Paul.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what do you relay to Paul then?
I talked to Paul, told him that they were in fact dying and we had to restart. So he and I had talked about coming up with a game plan, meeting up that afternoon at Moselle to go ahead and get the tractor hooked up and begin plowing them under.
And ultimately, you weren't able to make it. Is that
That's
true?
correct.
Okay. What did you have going on?
I got hung up at work around the Columbia area.
So the plan then became we're just gonna do it later,
That's
right?
right.
We'll do it sometime later in the week.
Yes.
Now, leading up to these events, you received a Snapchat from Paul around 7 p.m. Is that right?
Sometime around there, yes.
Sometime in the evening time.
That's right.
And tell us what that Snapchat. Snapchat's like a video image that someone can send you.
That's correct. Yes.
And
This is
tell us
the
about what that
one.
Snapchat was.
It was a video of
tree, I
the
think.
John Deere Highboy sprayer, one of the cylinders on the back to spread the boom to spray.
Oh,
was
never mind.
leaking
This is a
pretty
different
bad,
one.
so he was sending me a video to show me how.
And a tiller is a piece of farm equipment. Is that correct?
What is it?
Sorry.
Repeat your question.
You said a tiller? Is that
The Highboy.
Highboy? Is that a piece of farm equipment?
It is.
And is that the thing you would use then to plow the fields?
That's what we would use to spray.
Spray. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. And it was leaking some sort of fluid, meaning it was maybe broken.
That's right.
Now you've in all the times we met, the number of times, did you have a chance to listen to what we call it kind of the kennel video?
I did.
And did you when listening to it, did you identify the voices on that video?
I did.
Having known the family, what voices did you hear on that video when you
Paul,
heard it?
Miss Maggie, and Mr. Elliott.
Oh, so he heard Alex's voice too.
All right, down at the kennel area too. If you're down there at nighttime, I assume you've been down there around the nighttime, the hangar kennel area. It's actually fairly well lit area if the lights are all turned on. Is that
That's
true?
correct.
So not only is there the hangar lights inside the hangar, but then there's lights.
I didn't hear
on
the
outside
John
hangar as
Deere
well.
one
That's
with
right.
Is that true?
K-Braze.
Yes.
I only
And is it
saw
true
the
then also
one
that the kennels have
of
lights,
the
both
bench
fan lights
tree
and overhead
with
lights? That's right.
Alex, and
So if
then
you're
the
down there in the middle of the night, even though there
video
may not
of
be
the
any
dog
street lighting
kennel
or
where
anything
you
like that,
could hear
the kennel area
Alex's
and the hangar
voice.
are all brightly lit with like fluorescent lighting.
Yes, sir.
And would you be able to see the lighting if you were at the Moselle house? Would you be able to look down if it's nighttime? Would you be able to look down and see the well-lit area?
You could, yes.
All right, so we're on June 7th. What's the last communication you have with Paul?
That phone call.
And
Phone
you
call.
go to bed.
All right, I
Sorry.
think we're
Go ahead.
caught up.
The phone
now.
call and the Snapchat.
And you then go to bed that night thinking it's just any other night. Is that right?
That's correct. It
Testify to it, but you were woken up at what time?
was around 10:30, between 10:30 and 11. My mom had called me and she had heard something had happened at Moselle. So I tried to call Paul and text Paul and didn't get a response. So I got in the truck and rode over there as fast as I could.
And at the time, were you living fairly close by?
I was living closer to Alameda. It was probably a 20 to 25 minute drive to Moselle.
When you arrived at the scene, what entrance did you go to initially?
Initially, I was coming down Moselle Road and I noticed all the first responders over towards the kennel area. And so I pulled in there and they wouldn't let me in. So then I backed up and came in through the brick columns and made my way around.
And when you arrived, what did you observe?
Oh, when I got there, there were a lot of first responders out, and I could see two bodies laying, one by the corner of the shed and one by the feed room door, and they had sheets over them.
And by the time you arrived, law enforcement had already cordoned off the area
I cannot
They
believe
had,
law
but you
enforcement
could,
allowed so many people
where
to
the
just come on
tractor
that property in the
equipment
middle
was
of the
housed. You
crime
could kind of
scene.
stand around back there,
That's correct.
and even though it's set further back, you could still see sort of the scene.
Yes.
Who was there with you when you arrived?
When I arrived, it was myself, Alec, Randy, Ronnie Crosby, Mark Ball, and I think that's it at the time. People started coming when I got there. A lot of people started coming, showing up.
And I know you testified to it, and it's obviously understandable, but everyone's pretty upset, right?
Yes.
And when you
Like
did you have a
20,
chance then to
25
interact with
people there.
Alex?
I did.
And is he here today?
He is.
Is he sitting at council table right there in between his lawyers?
He is.
We got Jim
And
Griffin.
I think you said you hugged.
Or
Is
I
that
don't know
right?
if
We
Dick
did.
was there, but Jim Griffin was there.
And what thing did he repeat to you
John,
twice?
Randy,
The boat wreck.
Nolan.
The boat wreck.
That's the thing
A
he
lot
said
of people
to you.
That's right.
from the law firm showed up. I think Chris Wilson was there. Buck
And
came, his girlfriend.
did he also ask
They
you to
had,
get in
like,
touch with Rogan?
He did.
half the
And you know
town.
Rogan Gibson.
I do.
Friends with him as well.
Yes, sir.
So the two things he says to you there is two of the things he says is the boat wreck. I think he said the effing boat wreck. Is that right?
He did.
And
They
Get in touch with Rogan.
Sled
It was a
dropped the
little while
ball on
later,
this
but
so
yes, he asked
bad.
me to call Rogan.
I kind of feel bad that the prosecutors had to like work with what they had to work with because of this good old boy system down there.
beg the court's indulgence.
Redirect.
You mentioned that Paul would clean his cars out down by the kennel area,
Right.
his trucks. Are you aware that he took his truck in to be serviced
I
that
was.
Friday?
Yes.
Okay. And he cleaned that out before he went?
Yes.
And if you're at the house in Moselle,
Mhm.
can you see in detail at night what's happening at the kennels?
You could just see the lights and you could tell that the lights were on and you could see the roof, but that's really about all you
So
could
just
see.
the roof and just the light.
That's right.
Okay.
You noticed something was down there, but you weren't really able to tell exactly what it was.
Okay. And going back to June 7th, you went out there in the morning for the Dove field.
That's right.
Okay. And did you see the black Ford F-50 up at the house?
I did.
Morning. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
Nothing yet, Your Honor.
Well, thank you. You may step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we have you go to the jury room for a short break. Please do not discuss the case.
Oh man, it's coming. I don't know how long this break's going to be. Hey, Emily Narb. All right, so for people who are just coming in, Nolan Tootin, Paul's best friend, was just on the stand. Oh, Linda, probably. I mean, you're not supposed to lie on the stand, but people commit perjury all the time and they never get in trouble for
Everyone
it,
be
really. I
seated.
mean, Amber Heard. Oh, here we go. Alex is coming up, guys.
Mr. Harpoolian, do you need any additional time to confer with Mr. Murdaugh?
This is big.
He indicates he doesn't need to talk to me. It's hurts my feelings, but we don't need any break. However, Your Honor, he does need to visit the restroom before we start this process.
All right, we'll take a recess about 10 minutes.
Just needs to use the bathroom.
Oh,
before he takes
10
the stand.
minutes.
All right,
Come
Paul,
on.
turn it back
All right,
to you.
let him use the
On
bathroom.
question of him
He's
deciding
probably
to
going to
take
go
the
in
stand.
there and get,
was important
hype
to
himself
that
up.
objection because the U.S. Supreme Court has held that the admissibility of
Yeah, you get a fresh
impeachment
pack of
evidence
Tic Tacs.
is not reviewable if convicted.
I can't
On
believe
appeal,
he said
the
it kind of
U.S.
hurts my
defendant takes the
feelings.
stand.
I don't think
So in
Harpootlian wants him
order
to
for the
testify, but
prejudicial
Alex, I
effect
think,
of
is
his
insisting that he
prior,
does.
financial crimes
I
coming
think
into evidence
Alex
actually
thinks that
motivated
he can. Hey,
his
Princess
decision
Megan
to
Elsa.
not
I
to
think
testify.
Alex
And of
thinks he
course,
can.
whether
He
or not
can
he
get the
would
jury
want
to feel
jury
bad for him.
convict, that effect can only be looked at from above, looking at the record below, if he in fact testifies. So that's why he's probably doing it. He's hedging his bets that if he loses, he can raise the issue of admissibility on that non-conviction misconduct on appeal.
Okay,
So
so
you
How
set
the
around the
hell
thing.
is
so Joe,
court
let's go to
so
the
loud
actual
and this
what
so
he's
low?
going to
Sorry,
say,
guys.
because it seems that maybe a difference in opinion about whether he should testify or not. Maybe his attorneys didn't necessarily agree with this decision. He seems to really want to do it. How is he going to answer these tough questions about misstatements to law enforcement and his voice on that kennel video?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because there are some things that directly contradict based on the evidence of what it is that was suggested in terms of where he was, where he wasn't, those types of things. I imagine that he's hoping that the love for his family comes through so much that somebody does not believe that he would have actually killed his wife and his son. It's going to be interesting, though. He's an experienced attorney, but it's going to be a cross-examination for the ages, I would imagine.
Oh, yes, it will be. Let's take a break. When we come back, Alex Murdaugh will take the stand.
Yeah, I think he thinks he's like, he's going to wipe Vicks in his eyes, right? I'm telling you, man, hey, True Texan. I'm telling you, that's what, what's it called, did Amber Heard. Remember there was that big thing where they thought that she was snorting coke on the stand? I'm not gonna lie, I'm like a little nervous about this. I'm like, how's this gonna go? Look, they have a countdown. And can you tell Long Crime is hype about this? They literally have a countdown to the 10-minute break. They're going to start them off with the very thing they don't want, financial. Yeah, I mean, come on. What was that? They were like, yeah, could he have special treatment where we don't talk about the financial crimes? Like, come on. I bet you this is going to take like most of the day. I mean, they have Alex Murdaugh on the stand, so I'll be here for a while. Yeah, I hope he performs like Scamber did too, right? Like all dramatic and so fake. She was terrible on the stand. I couldn't stand her. Sorry guys, I'm like way out of sorts because I wasn't expecting Alex to go on the stand this morning. So I'm like in my bathrobe. I had to make sure I turn my camera off. Like close the thing so it doesn't accidentally go on me because that would be a disaster. Surprise, his hand didn't start smoking on the Bible. Right? Yeah, he may be on the stand for a couple of days. They said that's what Dick said. He was like, this might take like another week if he could be questioned about the financial crimes. I mean, this could take a while. I'll stay on as long as I can, and I'll stream it as long as I can. I don't really have. The only thing I might have to do is leave to pick my kid up from school if it goes into that long. You know what I mean? Like if it goes over that. But I mean, I guess I could just leave it running if people still want to watch it when I go. You were up till 2 a.m. watching the snow drift. I am like a night owl. I am just one of those night people. Like I get my energy at night, and I stay up like late, and then in the morning I take my kid to school, and then I usually take my little nap. Unless there's something crazy like Alex Murdaugh taking the stand, then things are different. We probably got like a minute left at this point. Let's go, long crime. But yeah, I actually went to bed kind of early last night because the night before I was really uncomfortable for some reason. I had like really bad mucus in my throat, like a postnatal drip or something. And I kept feeling like I had to like swallow while I was laying down. But it
And
was
welcome back to
annoying
Long
me.
Crime,
So
everybody. So we're
I'd like
ready to
prop
jump
up
live in
pillows,
Walterboro,
and I ended up
South
watching
Carolina, where
Housewives till like
disgraced
3 in
attorney
the
Alex
morning.
Murdaugh, the defendant in this case,
So last
will be
night I went to
taking
bed
the
early
witness
because I was up
stand. That is
late.
right. He confirmed that earlier on in court. He wants to take the stand. He will take the
Here we
stand.
go.
His attorney indicated that he just needs to go to the bathroom before he actually does this. What a nerve-wracking experience this must be, Philip Dubé, right? I mean, the idea that his life is on the line right now. Everything's going to come down to what he says. He didn't need for this to happen, but clearly he thinks he has something to offer that to fill in some holes in the case.
Jesse, call me a cynic, but I truly believe that whatever good he could do is best left to the testimony and his recorded interviews with the police and in the squad car. He came off somewhat sympathetic in the car, down at the station, and I think he can undermine it once he takes the stand. You know, Jesse, I wasn't kidding when I said offline
So what do you guys
that
think?
he comes
Do you
off
think
just from afar as being one of these lettered
that this will be
legacy
helpful,
children from
or
a
this is
great
going to hurt
legal
him?
dynasty. But I truly believe that once he takes the stand, he's going to come off like a Gomer Pyle, and he's going to lose that aura of legal respectability, and it could really,
I don't
really
know what to think.
backfire.
Like, I
So
don't
we'll see
know.
what happens.
Well, I don't know if he needs to be a legal scholar. He needs to come off as a human. I think if anything, the jury probably looks at him as a guy who, you know, was scheming and was doing all sorts of terrible things. You know, I think he just needs to come off as
like a
incredible. And
sympathetic
Joe, I'll throw it
human
back to
who
you
was
on
in
this.
a
You know,
bad.
this is a situation where, you know, he didn't have to do this. There was
got
enough
caught up in a
reasonable
really
doubt, I
bad
thought, that his
situation
defense team
that
put
over
forward,
spiraled. I don't know
that
how
they
much
could
he
have
can do
probably
for
gotten,
himself
maybe
now.
not
but-
even acquittal across the board, but a possible hung jury. This is adding another variable, and he's going to be questioned about those financial crimes. It seems like he will probably plead the fifth, no?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, right? Because regardless, even if this goes well, he's facing a lot of time and a lot of trouble on 99 financial related charges. So he's got some problems any way you
Here's
look
my
at it. So there's a
question.
lot of
If anyone knows
minefields. I
this
agree
answer,
with
if he
Philip
goes up to
entirely.
talk, if they
He's
ask
in
him
a lot of trouble testifying, and I just
specific
don't.
question,
And I think it's got to bring
can
the
he refuse to
inconsistencies
answer
back
them,
to
or
the
once he's
forefront.
already
The
up
things
there,
that people
is
would
it
look
like,
at to say there's
is
inconsistency
it
between, you know, what came
what
forward in the
a
investigation
free
in terms
for
of
all?
what you
You know what I'm
said
saying?
and where your phone actually were, where you were. People
Yeah, it's
recognized
gonna
your
be
voice.
68
You were
where I
here,
am
you
today,
know,
which is
basically
crazy.
intimidating the
I know you're really nice. I'm
family
in
helper,
PA.
you know, and all of these other things that are kind of brought back to front. You know what I mean? And so I think
I
there's going to
agree,
be
True
a problem
Texan.
there.
I actually
for
felt really
sure.
bad
And,
for
you know,
Kyle Rittenhouse,
it's always
and I
hard
think
when
he
your
did a great
guys
job on
are
the
spending a lot
stand.
of time saying, well,
And
he may testify, but we want this certain thing to be
I
limited
don't
and
agree.
crossed.
Like,
It's
I
not
don't think
good.
he ever
Well,
should
Philip,
have
here's the
gotten
question I
involved.
have.
But I
If
do
his
think that
testimony
Kyle
contradicts the
Rittenhouse had
testimony
like
of Blanca Simpson or Shelley Smith,
was an
or,
actual
you know,
fear
any of the
for his
people
life,
who
and I do
said that
think
was
that his
his voice
testimony
on that
helped
tape,
for sure.
I don't know why they would have an incentive to make something up or an incentive to lie unless they
So here's
completely
what I'm
got something
confused
wrong.
about.
Clearly,
I thought if
he
you
would
plead
have
the
an
fifth, like
incentive to
pleading the
lie.
fifth is
And so the
like
question, and by the way, the jury's heard him lie.
is like not
The jury's
talking
heard
at
him
all.
say that he's lied
But
to
like
investigators.
if he
So
goes up and starts
this again
talking,
becomes
can
a
he
question
plead,
of why this is
can
necessary.
he plead
If
the
he's going to
fifth
just
to
say, I
certain
never said
questions?
that to
Like,
her,
no, I
I
don't
never
want to
said that
answer
to
that.
her, why should the jury believe
Or
him
once
now?
he starts talking,
I
is it
agree with
like,
Jesse.
you know, is
He's
it a
better
free
off
for all
looking
then?
as if he was confused at the time, you know, that
I'm gonna Google it
while
real
he was,
quick.
as we say in Yiddish, a little vermischt from all the activity, you know, he didn't get all the facts and the timeline straight. But if he takes a stand, that I truly believe under that primacy recency notion, that's going to be the lasting final impression with that jury, and they're not going to believe a darn word he said.
Oh, this may be the big. I thought, Joe, the timeline that was created by the prosecution, that really multi-page timeline, was going to be the thing that the jury would really focus on. I imagine they still could, but now it's going to be the testimony of Alex Murdaugh.
Here's what I found.
And it seems to me that this is a guy who got himself into trouble.
Bruce,
based on
everyone
everything
can
that he
recite
said.
some
It
approximation
was
of the
not
Fifth
only what the
Amendment in the
evidence was at the
Constitution.
crime scene,
It says,
but it was
in part,
what
that
he
no one
said
shall be compelled in
afterwards,
any
his
criminal
words
case
that got him into
to
trouble.
be a witness
You would
against
think
himself.
that maybe that would give him pause, but Clearly not. And maybe look, maybe I'm a little too pessimistic. Let's see how he does. What do you
However,
think,
the
Joe? Could
Supreme
this actually be to his
rulings
benefit?
have broadened people's
I
ability
think
to
it's
use
just
the
going to be
Fifth
hard for it
Amendment.
to be to his benefit. I guess anything is possible, right? He's facing a lot of time, even in a best case. And so he figured he'd go for it. Maybe there's some ego there. Maybe he's hoping that the love for his children, for his wife, for his family comes through. But there's a lot of inconsistencies that get brought back to
Witnesses
front
in the judicial
by virtue
proceeding
of his
can
testimony.
choose to plead
And
the
so,
fifth to certain questions
if
while
his
answering
attorney
others.
is
If a
objecting
defendant
on
chooses to
cross
testify
about
on their
particular
own
things
behalf,
being said,
however,
now he looks
they've
inconsistent because
waived
here you
their
are, you
Fifth
went back,
Amendment
you went
rights
on the
and must
stand, you're
truthfully
the accused
answer
murderer, of
all
course they're going to ask you a bunch of
questions.
questions, and
That
you're
is
going to look like
huge.
you don't want
So,
certain information to
all
come
right.
forward. So, there's a lot of
So,
minefields. It's a great defense attorney.
if
I
you
like counsel,
decide, if
but
you're the
this
defendant
is a big minefield, and I'll give you 10-1.
and
He
you
advised him
decide
not to
to
get on the stand. I'll bet
testify,
you he advised him not to.
Okay,
you
so that becomes
cannot
an interesting
plead the
question here,
fifth
right,
to
Philip?
certain
Like,
questions.
if the financial
But say like
crimes were
another
never going to
person
come
who's
in,
been
do you
subpoenaed or
think there was a
whatever, they
situation, and maybe we're trying to read the tea leaves a little bit based on Dick Harpootlian's
so
statements.
he
Do you
has
think
the
if the
right
financial
not to take the
crimes
stand. So he
were
can
never
say,
going
I
to be
don't want
brought
to
up in
testify,
questioning
which
of
he's
Alex
already
Murdaugh while
said
he's on
he's
the
going
stand,
to.
that Dick
So that's out of the
Harpootlian
question.
advised Alex Murdaugh, you
Now
should
that
take the
he
stand,
is
versus
on the
maybe what
stand,
happened
like
now.
once
And
he
again, we're
starts
purely
talking on the
speculating
stand,
here.
and if
Since
they
you're going
ask
to be
him a
asked about
question he does
financial
not like,
crimes,
he
you
cannot
really
plead the
shouldn't take
fifth.
the stand. Do you think that conversation happened?
I think the conversation happened, but I think on balance, his
So he
counsel
cannot
told him
plead
not
the
to
fifth
take
to
the
certain
stand in
questions.
any scenario. It could only get worse. Right now, what you have in all those videos is him denying it. If he takes the stand, all they're going to do is confront him with all those videos. And now he's going to have to explain away why he lied or why he was incorrect or why he was inaccurate. And again, that's going to be the final impression with the jury. It's not worth it. Look, he's got reasonable doubt right now with what they have. If he's acquitted, chances are all those financial crimes are going to settle. He will likely see the light of day again, although after a lengthy period of incarceration.
Well, Joe, now here becomes a question of how long
I can't
this is going to
believe he
go.
wants to
So we
testify.
thought that
I'm
the defense
shocked.
was going to finish up their case by the end of the week. You heard Dick Harpootlian saying earlier that if all this comes in, all the financial evidence, and he's going to be questioned about it, this could make the trial last another week. I mean, are we talking about potential Robert Durst line of questioning where it lasted 9 days?
I think that it could, right? I mean, so much for the prosecution to pick at after his questioning has occurred. And so it's certainly going to take some time.
He
It's not
doesn't
going to
have an
happen quickly. I
option
imagine
to
that
opt out
I
in
guess
certain
they have to
questions.
think
So
out
that's
loud.
why
The
they
defense
were
does
they
about,
were
okay,
really
what
pressing
areas
for
do you go
keeping
into?
the
It seems like he's
financial
going to want
crimes
to talk
out of
about
it, I
some of
guess.
everything, right? And so if he's talking about some of everything, then doors are open to
but
talk about everything on cross.
if you're
And so
the
that can
defendant,
only
like if you're the
take
person
time.
that's
I would
being
imagine it's going to be at least a few days.
charged and you're in court
I
for
think
yourself,
so too.
and
And
you
do you
choose
think
to
that this
take
is
the
a
stand,
prosecutor's
you
dream now,
can't plead the
Philip,
fifth.
to be able to question the defendant? Now, let's not forget, he was an attorney, okay? So he knows his way around this. But do you think that this is a prosecutor's dream at this point, to be able to question him about everything that's been presented?
Oh, Jesse, Creighton Waters is licking his chops right now. He has probably spent the night preparing his cross of this guy. He's gone through every exhibit. He's gone through every video.
I mean, he's a lawyer, so he knows what he's
gonna have a
doing.
question
But
for
I
every
don't
single point.
think Dick
But I
wants him to
wasn't kidding when
testify.
I
I
said
think Dick
earlier
thinks it's
that in a
stupid.
way he's got nothing to lose, particularly if he wants to preserve his objection regarding the admissibility of all the financial crime stuff. He has to take the stand in order for that to be reviewable on appeal under that Luce versus United States line of cases.
All right, we're seeing some activity. We can jump live right now. Alex Murdaugh is about to take the stand.
I know. I wish Camille. This prosecutor ain't that good. I mean, he doesn't object to a lot of things that he should object to. I'm not a fan of this guy, but putting in a teacher. Oh man, here we go.
Oh, you do. Absolutely.
And if we have any questions, I can Google it. So I'll Google it. If I don't already.
You may bring the jury.
Camille was excellent. She was fire. I loved watching her cross-examine Amber Heard. That was like, she's an excellent lawyer. And don't you just love those moments where somebody has that like moment to shine and it just goes perfect? Like that went so well for her. It couldn't have went any better. It was just such a good moment in that trial. True, Texan. Yeah, I haven't. Now that I think about it, I haven't noticed if he's had one on or not the other days. Yeah, that the gun was that it was obtained illegally or whatever. Yeah, she called Scamber on all her shit. They said it might last a couple days. Well, we're gonna be here for a while then. I'll go as long as I can. At like around 3, I gotta leave, and I might have to like hop up in between and like get changed and stuff. But it's fine. We'll work it out. I wish I had time to go on camera, but like I didn't even expect that this was gonna happen. I was like, oh my gosh, Alex is taking the stand. I gotta pull up alive. I feel like it's so quiet in there. You could hear a pin drop. It's intense. Unless they have like the sound muted or something, but it's like he probably took it off in the bathroom. Yeah, take breaks with the court. Good call. I mean, I'll keep this stream. Well, actually, it's probably better that I take breaks while he's testifying because then I can talk in between. We'll see. I'll figure it out. What are they waiting for, the jury? Where were you when Big Red took the stand, right? I know, right? Don't fart. I mean, this is like, I really hope the prosecution don't mess this up, though, because it is like, a prosecutor's dream for this to happen. You know what I mean? Like, he's taking the stand. They have all this time to question under oath. I thought they were going to have John Marvin up. I don't know when they're going to have him as a witness. I'm curious to know how many people were at Moselle that day. I feel like we should like take count because that's just crazy to me how many people they let to just walk around. Like that guy said he saw a piece of Paul's skull that they didn't even collect. It's ridiculous. Why is it taking so long? I think they're waiting for the jury, but I'm not really sure. I really like this judge. He has like no sympathy for this good old boy system there. I am getting a little nervous though because they only have 2 alternate jurors left. And if they run out of jurors, that will be a mistrial. So it's kind of scary that he's taking the stand because him taking the stand is going to extend court like another week. And if they run out of jurors, that's not good. Not good at all. I'll have to do this all over again. Oh yeah, My Cousin Vinny is a great movie. I love what's her name? Marissa Tomei. She's adorable. Like she's just like I think she's like such an adorable actress. Like she's really cute and she's got a funny personality. She's a really good actress. I think she's very underrated. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jen. It's like it's so quiet. Yeah, everyone, look, let me just point something out. And I don't think a lot of people realize this. How many people in my chat, when you are under a lot of stress, you start cleaning? Like, I feel like in this situation, people start picking stuff up and start cleaning and trying to like be helpful because they're nervous and it's an anxious, you feel like you have to do something. You know what I mean?
Will not be
and then
able to
they screw things up because they're in there cleaning and
You cannot sit there.
I need the vacuum. I
cannot
don't
sit
want to
in the
miss
jury
anything.
box.
This is my excuse. Yeah, Linda. When I'm mad and when I'm anxious, I immediately start cleaning. I just start like wiping down tables and I don't know why, I just do it. I used to take them, True Texan, but
Let me call your next witness.
it was
Thank you, Your Honor.
like I was subscribed to them a long time
The
ago.
defendant,
and
Richard
such an issue
Alexander
with them. I'll
Murdaugh,
never
wishes to take the stand.
Watch your step.
Yes, ma'am.
You place your left hand on the
But yeah, I
Bible
have
and raise your
anxiety
right.
issues.
You swear or
But
affirm that
now,
the testimony you give today
probably because I
will
drink
be
so
the
much
truth, the whole
caffeine.
truth,
Not
and
so
nothing
much
but the
as
truth.
bad as I
Yes,
used
ma'am.
to, though.
You'll have a seat on the witness stand.
Oh, when I'm mad, the house will be
Adjust that
hot.
microphone.
Yes.
And if you don't mind stating your full name again and spelling your last name.
I'm Alex Murdaugh,
By the way, here he is.
MURDAUGH.
He's doing it. I know.
Good morning.
Well, when you're done going live, come back. Buster the Cockatoo is the cutest cockatoo ever, guys. Make sure you sub to Buster. He's my fave. And his brother Earl. They're the cutest birds on YouTube. Well, when you're done,
Murdaugh.
Buster, come back
On June 7th,
and watch Alex testify.
2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
Oh, man.
No, I
Here we
did
go.
not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take a 300 blackout such as this?
There's Buster's link. If
And
anyone
fired
wants
into
to sub to
your wife
Buster's
Maggie's
channel.
leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you
I know.
shoot
Me neither, Jones.
a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
Right. I can't wait till behavior panel does a what's it called?
Mr. Murdaugh, is that you
An
on the kennel
assessment
video at
on his-
8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
It is.
Oh,
Were you in fact at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Oh,
Did you lie to SLED Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland on the night of June 7th
I know. He's shaking his head.
and
Yes,
told them
yes,
that
he
you
does.
stayed at the
I
house after
noticed
dinner?
that too.
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent
This is
Owen
huge.
and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th,
He's
did
admitting
you tell
that
Agent
he
Owen
lied.
and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car.
Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, behavior panel.
That night, June
Definitely
7th,
gonna do a video
after
on that.
finding Mags and Paul, don't talk to anybody without Danny with you. All my partners were just repeatedly telling me that. I had a deputy sheriff taking gunshot tests from my hands.
I mean, this,
I'm sitting in a police car with David Owen asking me about my relationship with my wife and my son. And all those things coupled together after finding them, coupled with my distrust for SLED, caused me to have paranoid thoughts. Normally, when these paranoid thoughts would hit me, I could take a deep breath real quick and just think about it, reason my way through it, and just get past it really quickly.
yeah, he licks his lips a lot.
On June the 7th,
Mm-hmm. So this is what's crazy to me,
I wasn't thinking clearly.
because
I don't think
even
I was
though they
capable of
heard
reason.
his voice, they didn't really have any
And I lied
definitive
about being
proof
down there.
that he was down there, besides people just saying that's definitely
And I'm so
his
sorry
voice.
that I did.
But he's admitting he was there, which is kind of
I'm sorry to my
stupid
son Buster.
to do, in my opinion. But
I'm sorry to Grandma and Papa T.
because at first it just went off a voice, you know what I mean? But now it's
I'm sorry to both of our
he's saying
families.
he was there.
Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw.
Yeah, I agree, Jones, and I don't
I would
think
never
they have proof.
intentionally do anything
Oh, here we
to
go.
hurt either one of them.
He looks a lot like Paul right here. Like I could see Paul's face in his face when he like scrunches
Ever.
it up.
Ever.
Did you continue lying after that night? Did you not?
But once I lied, I continued to lie. Yes, sir.
Why?
You know, oh, what a tangled web we weave. But once I told a lie, then I told my family, I had to keep lying.
I think this is bad for him though, because if they had to prove that was his voice, you know what I mean? Like
Alex,
even
tell
though
the
it's
jury
like it's obviously his
What happened
voice,
on the evening of
but it's like he never said he was
June
actually
7th,
there. Now
starting
he
when
says he
you
was
met
there
with
right
Paul?
before they were murdered. This is big.
I'd been at work that day, a fairly normal day.
Right, Students Camilo? Oh my gosh, I can't
You
believe.
mean start in the morning or?
Sure, start in the morning.
Okay,
It was
Grace.
just regular morning. Maggie was
there's
leaving
no
to
way
go
it was an accident.
out of town.
2 shots to Paul and
she
that
was-
many
she was
shots
going to a doctor's
Maggie.
appointment.
No way.
And she had some stuff to do at Edista, where she was having some work done on our house at Edista. But Maggie was there that morning. She went to leave, and she told me she was doing these things. I always asked Maggie to come back home and stay with me. But anyway, Maggie had left. She did her thing. I went to work, did
Okay.
work.
See you later.
I learned
Enjoy
from
your
Paw
life. I'll catch
that
the replay, Buster.
that's Paul, my son Paul Murdaugh.
And your name for him was Paw Paw.
Yeah, we called him Paw.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Buster, Maggie, I called him Paw or Paul Terry. But Mags called him Paw. Buster called him Paw. A lot of people called him Paw. But anyway, I learned about I'd known that CB, the guy that worked for us, had sprayed the sunflowers. I knew about that, but I'd been out of town. I didn't know they were dead. Paul let me know they had died. So we had to replant the dove field. That's how dove field, which the dove field is just a big social part of having property. People would come and it's just a social big part of it. So the dove field was a big deal.
Cross-Exam does a good
So
job
when
tripping
the
him
sunflowers
up,
got killed,
it'll be hurtful.
Paul was,
but
we knew they were dead. Paul was coming home. And I
if
learned
he
that
could look
early
human, it might
Monday
help.
morning.
And did and we'll catch back up, but at some point in time, did you meet up with Paul?
Yeah, after
Maybe
work,
it has to do with his
I met
name,
Paul at the property.
Paul, like
And
like
and I'm
P-A-U-L,
and we're going back to Phil and
P-A-U-L
talk
instead of
about
Paul,
more of the
Paul.
day, but I just want to focus in on that evening right now.
Okay.
When Paul gets to the property, what do y'all do?
First thing we do is we go to the dove field and we look at the dove field. And
Hang on. How'd you get to the dove field?
he had come in my brother's truck. We got in my son Buster's black pickup truck. We called it Buster's truck or the black pickup truck. You've heard it called too, but I call it Buster's truck.
Okay, so you're in Buster's truck and you go to the dove field. Tell the jury what else.
Well, that's the first thing we do. We go to the dove field and we look, and it was clearly, it didn't, you could tell they were, you could tell they'd been sprayed and you could tell they were
Hey, Mark.
dead.
Yeah,
they
right.
might have
That's what I
still
said
had a
too.
tiny
Him
bit of light, but
saying
they were
that he
dead.
was there,
So we
I
knew
can't
that. So we
believe
knew we
he
had to
actually admitted it.
replant the whole field. So that didn't take but a second. But after that, Paul, we just rode the property. We spent time together.
Yeah, he's admitted he was on
We
drugs.
rode
at the
around
time.
and we spent time together on the property.
Did you go to the duck pond?
Oh yeah, we went to several food plots. We went to Single Oak Stand, we called it, which is across the road. I know we went to the Bridge Stand. We went to the duck pond where we stayed for a minute. And
Did you
I can remember the duck pond specifically because I had helped Paul plant the dove field and the corn in the dove field. So sunflowers, corn. And I had helped him plant the corn in the dove field. Paul had planted the duck pond by himself, and he's making a really big deal to me about how much better the corn was doing in the duck pond than it was in the dove field.
I just can't see how.
We
how
stayed
he
there for a
could've
little while.
left
We rode. We were
like
at the cabin for
somebody
a little
could've
while. We
come in
rode around the
that quick.
cabin looking
He
at it.
drives by where the
Cabin
phone
is what?
was.
That's
I don't know.
it's just
What's it gonna be?
a little small. It's truly a cabin. It's a 4-room structure.
I just
It's
can't
got a
believe
little
you
living
admitted
area,
that.
a little kitchen. It's got 2 little bedrooms and 1 little bathroom. And that's what you've heard talk about where the kids stayed some summers. And
is that what the jury's seen? Some overhead pictures. It's right there on Moselle Road.
yeah, it's right up on Moselle Road, and it's very close to the driveway that goes to the shop and the kennels.
Did you spend any time at the shop, you think?
Oh, yes. I mean, the shop was, that was sort of the hub. That was the main place. If you weren't at the house, you might be out going to this field or this food plot or this duck pond or this part of the river, but the shop is where the kennels were located. That was, you were always there. Something was always going on there. You're always doing something there.
Sorry,
That's where
the
all
trial
tools were.
is super
That's where all the
loud, so I have to
equipment was
talk
kept.
really
I mean,
loud.
that was the main hub.
Right.
And
you
so
guys
we were
hear
there
it
that
okay?
day. I mean, there was a point in time where we unloaded a bulldozer that had been on a different part of the property. It was on a trailer. We unloaded it and sprayed it down real quick. That was just one of the many things we did that day.
One of the things the jury's seen, Alec, is a Snapchat video of you and doing something with a tree. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
And so what was happening there?
That's just part of when we were riding. That particular location where that was is at a food plot.
I
that-
need them
that
to
we
ask
called
him where those
Sawtooth Oaks.
clothes
It was
are.
named that because there were some sawtooth oaks that were planted there that you can't see in the picture. But what that tree is, at all these food plots, there's an area where it's not as big as a field, but it's like a field where you plant vegetation for wildlife. Like it might be cowpeas or soybeans, but you plant, and then there's a feeder to attract deer. Then we planted these little fruit trees on these stands. And what you see me doing is fooling with a fruit tree that I'd been tending
I
to.
hope they
It
tear
had
them apart
fallen
on
over.
top.
I had
really
straps
do.
on it. I had strings on it that were holding it up. One of the strings popped. I undid the other string, and it was falling over, and Pawpaw was laughing at me.
I have
trying
been a
to get it
little less
back
than
upright.
impressed with the
it was just a fruit tree
prosecution,
that I've
though.
been
So I
dealing with
really hope,
really for years,
really hope they
And-
take
and it wouldn't
advantage
stand
of
up
it.
straight.
And were you and Paul having a good time at that point?
You could not be around Pawpaw. You could not be around him and not have a good time.
Were you close to Paul?
You couldn't be any closer than Pawpaw and I and Buster and I were and are. He's just wonderful. Wonderful.
Hey, D.
And it's one of the things you enjoyed doing together was just right.
Love doing anything with Pawpaw. It was an absolute delight. But yeah, one of the things, Paul's passion. Paul was passionate about a lot of things, but that property was
crying,
really
but no
a passion of
tears.
his. He loved to work the fields. He loved to work the food plots. He loved to hunt. He'd work on the roads. He would work on all of it.
He definitely came off as like a hard
the
worker,
structure.
though. I'll
He
give
would-
Paul
he-
that.
He worked on the whole property. It was.
So on the evening of the 7th, jury's been inundated with data from various different sources, but
Sure.
just ballpark, can you, knowing.
Yeah, Mark, it's crazy.
what
I
went
was
out
in a
from
couple
viewing
groups
everything, roughly
from the
when do you remember
area,
Paul
and
getting
they
there
have
and
all
you
been
getting there,
saying the
starting to buy
same
the property?
thing, that they just can't believe
Now that I've had the benefit of seeing
that this is
all of these
actually
records,
happening, because they've gotten away with everything.
Pawpaw got home, I believe, a
I
little
think
bit
the
before 7
grandfather
o'clock.
dying plays
And
a
I
big
got
part
home
in
a little
it
bit
too.
before. I think the details had been that I got home around 6:42 or 6:45 or something like that. And Paul got there, very quickly thereafter,
And then,
by 7 o'clock.
so you rode the property for a while. Do you remember when Maggie arrived?
Yeah, it was later than that. It was 8 or after 8. I think it was after 8 and looking at the records, a little bit after 8.
And do you remember you remember her arriving or where you were when she arrived?
I believe that I was at the shop when she came through, which would not be unusual for her having been away. If Blanca had gotten the mail or somebody had gotten the mail, maybe not. But if somebody had not gotten the mail, it would be perfectly normal for her to pull through there. And I believe she did pull through there that day. And Paul and I were at the shop, I believe.
And then what did you do after Maggie arrived?
Maggie to the house, and I know that. But shortly after, however, I learned that Maggie got home, I went to the house when Maggie got home, and I left Paul at the shop.
Thank you so much, Emily.
So, and what'd you do when you got to the house?
I'm glad you're off too. So
Saw
we can
Mags,
hang.
talked to Mags, and I took a shower.
The clothes that we saw in that Snapchat video
So we
was,
took a shower. Come on.
is that the clothes you had at work that day?
Yes, those are the clothes I had on at work that day.
And the jury's seen you in those clothes and what's on June 7th. How tall were you and how much?
Oh, it's
did you weigh?
definitely a good old boy system for sure.
On June 7th,
I mean, you
well,
can see
I'm
the
6,
blood barely-
I'm a hair over
I mean,
6'4", right at 6'4".
It's barely
On June the
investigated.
7th, I was about 265 pounds, 264, 265.
They were
And,
in with everybody.
And this was in June, June 7th.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you're outside riding around and do you get hot and sweaty?
Absolutely. I mean, Paul and I had done some things. We unloaded the bulldozer, cleaned the bulldozer. We fooled around. Yeah, I mean, I sweated. I was heavy, and taking prescription pills also makes you sweat worse, or at least taking oxycodone makes you sweat more than you normally do.
So was it unusual for you to take a shower when you got back to the house?
Not at all.
And that, when you,
So did he say a time
after
when
you
he
took
took
a
the
shower, what did you change into?
I changed into the clothes that you've seen in trial, shorts and the shirt.
Okay. When you got out of the shower, and changed clothes, what'd you do next?
I went back out where Mags and Pawpaw were and
What were
for
they
dinner.
doing? What was going on?
Mags had, as you've heard, Blanca had prepared dinner, but it had been cooked earlier. Mags had fixed, I know Mags had fixed mine and her plate because I didn't fix a plate. She may have fixed Pawpaw. Pawpaw was eating, and Pawpaw was almost done eating by the time I got back out.
Yeah, Roll Tide.
Which-
I didn't either. I ran it into the computer
Wasn't
room
unusual.
in my robe
Pawpaw
and
was
everything. Like,
always
oh my goodness,
on
I
the
need to
go.
put this on
I
now.
mean, he never sat still, and he'd sit down to eat, but then he's going on to his next item.
And
So then Maggie and I ate.
and you always the den. What's your normal habit?
We would do both, but I mean, when we ate at the table, it was really sort of more formal or not formal, but just more of an organized thing. What we would normally do on a regular evening is we would eat in the den in front of the TV. And that's where we ate that day. Couch, the table. Maggie had a little, a TV tray that she kept over there, and Pawpaw would usually sit in a recliner and eat off of the ottoman.
Was the TV on?
Yes,
Was that normal for the TV to be on?
yes. TV, if we were in the house, TV was on.
I'm taking notes to see if I can
So what happened
notice he
next?
switches up anything.
Pawpaw moved on doing whatever he was doing. I don't know if he was in the gun room doing something or he was in his room doing something. He was outside doing something. We thought he'd gone to the shed, but in looking at to the shop, but in looking at the benefit of having these records that we have, I know he was still at the house or somewhere around the house doing something, but he wasn't in there with Maggie and I. But Maggie wanted to go to the kennels. I had eaten dinner. I laid back on the couch where I was sitting. Maggie wanted to go to the kennels. and she asked me to go, and I didn't go at that time. I didn't want to go.
Why didn't you want to go?
It was hot. I just had a shower. Up doing
Ty,
more work.
spent shell casings
sweating
had
more,
Paul's
and-
DNA on them, so they
and
believe it was Paul's
The dogs is
shotgun.
always a chaotic scene, and I just didn't want to go right then.
Well, let me ask you, what had you done the previous days, like Friday and Saturday and Sunday?
Start with Friday or
Yeah.
go backwards?
Yeah, start.
On that,
Just briefly.
so 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th. So June the 4th, my dad was in the hospital in Savannah, Georgia, at Memorial Hospital. And I went down to visit him Friday afternoon, and I stayed with him in the hospital. I spent the night there. You know, he was real sick. I mean, he was having a hard time.
Did you get much sleep Friday night?
No, I mean, I had a real sweet nurse found me. At first, there was just a hard chair in there. Like, nurse found me a soft chair, sort of like a recliner. So, I mean, I'm sure I slept, but I didn't sleep. You know, I didn't get a night's sleep. No, sir.
And then
Thanks, Mark.
Saturday and Sunday,
Saturday, we had plans with Buster in Brooklyn. Y'all have heard about Brooklyn. It's Buster's wonderful little girlfriend. And Max and I had plans with them to meet them in Columbia, to go to the South Carolina.
I'm gonna let this play for
It
one
was a
second.
regional
I just gotta run in
baseball
the other
tournament.
room.
South
I'll be
Carolina
back
was
in like 1
playing
minute.
Virginia, I believe. When I got back from Savannah and met up with Mags, at some point we headed to Columbia. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot going on in between there. We headed up to Columbia and met Bus in Brooklyn.
and then, did you stay in Columbia?
We went to the ball game, and I remember it was an evening game. We went pretty early and tailgated. Maggie had reconnected with a college friend who coincidentally had married a college friend of mine, and they had North Carolina. He was a first baseman, and a really good little player. And we met them and tailgated with them, and it was a lot of fun. They had a lot of the parents of the players that were playing for Carolina, and it was a fun time. We tailgated, and then we went to, and it was a night game, so we went to the game, and the game got over. You know, it was fairly late into the evening, and after that, Bus, Brooklyn, and Mags and I believe we went to the restaurant in the hotel where we were staying, but we went and had dinner, and then Bus and Brooklyn went home, and of course Maggie and I went to our room.
And then get up the next day, and is there another game?
Another game the next day,
And then after that, you head back to Moselle with Maggie.
yeah, we went to the game. That's right. Mags and I go back to
Moselle.
Moselle.
The jury's heard about, I think, Ms. Rass talking about you bringing to your dad.
Maggie loved her. She spoiled my dad, and always taking him something. My dad loved sweets, and she and I picked up donuts and took Krispy Kreme donuts to him.
And then both spent the night together at Moselle on Sunday night. Did you both spend the night at Moselle on Sunday night?
Yes.
And then the 7th was a work day?
That's right. It was a Monday, June the 7th.
Hang on. I'll rephrase it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was Monday the 7th a work day for you?
Yes.
Okay. And I just wanted to give that background. And so moving forward to when you testified previously about Maggie asking you to go to the kennels, were you tired?
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, yes, I was tired.
And you had just had a shower?
Just had a shower.
And you said that, well, did you go with Maggie to the kennels immediately?
No, I did not.
What'd you do? What did she leave?
Yes, she did. She left and Pawpaw was gone.
Do you know how she got to the kennel?
At the time, I didn't. Looking at these condensed records and understanding the timeline, it's clear to me that she rode with Pawpaw.
I think he was on the ATV when he
And,
shot.
And did you stay in the house?
Well,
Yes,
For how long?
I lied.
not long. I laid back on the couch, put my feet up, and like he asked me to do something
I think he
that
was-
I didn't want to do or didn't start out doing.
I think he was standing
changed
up
my
when he
mind
shot
and
Paul, maybe
decided
fell back and then got on
I'm
the
right up
ATV.
there. And I did.
And how did you get to the kennels?
I went on a golf cart.
Right, Emily? I
Um,
agree.
At the house, the main house?
Yeah. It was, and it was there most of the time.
And when you got down to the kennels, what was happening?
It's just what I thought it was. It was a little bit of chaos. I mean, it was clear to me
So wait,
that
you said he took the golf
Max had
cart?
just left. The two dogs that were out were really her pet dogs. One is Grady. You've heard about a black lab. That's Grady. That's Buster's dog. And the other is the yellow lab that you've heard about. That's Bubba. Bubba was mine and Maggie's dog, but it was really mine, Maggie's, Bus, and Pawpaw's dog. It was a family dog. But Bubba's the dog I hunted. I mean, Maggie loved Bubba. She loved Grady too, but I mean, she had a special place for Bubba. But anyway, when the dogs first were let out, the first thing they would do, if you look at the overhead picture that you've seen, there were planted pines right behind the kennels. So you got the kennels and the chicken coop sort of form an L shape. And in that L was some planted pines. First thing the dogs would do is go out in that
That's how I
kennel
think
and,
he was able
you
to
know,
switch
Bubba-
guns was he had them in the golf cart.
and Grady, I think, learned this from Bubba, but Grady would do it too. But Bubba had to mark every tree. I mean, he would go and he'd do a little number on this tree and that tree. You know how dogs do, and it's marking his territory. And so that was the first thing those dogs did when they came out. When I got there, those dogs were in. So that's why I believe that it hadn't been long before they'd been let out. Grady was chasing guineas.
Oh, really, Linda?
Which
The
was a
golf
normal
cart
thing to
lower
do.
than the ATV.
What are guineas?
Guinea fowl is a guinea fowl is like it's like a chicken. It's a domestic bird that we had them. They make a lot of racket. It's like I know this sounds silly, but it's like a guard bird. Because anytime, they just make a lot of racket anytime anything unusual is going on. If anything disturbs them, it could be a person, it could be somebody driving up, whatever, they're going to make a lot. Grady's chasing the guineas. Paul's fooling with Rogan's dog Cash. Maggie's just kind of standing there watching the dogs, which is normal. And they were in that place. As the dogs are out long, they branch out more. But at that point in time, they were right there. So that told me they hadn't been out a long time. Bubba catches the chicken.
I agree. I think the
I'm talking to
roadside.
Maggie for a
I
short
think
time
the roadside
before
shooting
Bubba
was
catches
to
the
make it
chicken.
look like whoever killed his family was
I
after
take
him.
the chicken, I put it, when Bubba didn't chase, these dogs didn't chase the chickens to kill them. And they didn't normally kill them. They did kill them sometimes, but it was about the chase with those dogs. And they were on. You could just tell by the way Bubba would prance to you when he brought chicken to you. He was proud that he had caught it, but he wasn't trying to kill it. And so most times the chicken wasn't dead. and that chicken wasn't dead. But a lot of times they would be stunned and they would be just real lethargic. So you had to take the chicken somewhere where, you know, the chicken could be by itself for a minute and it would eventually, usually, you know, come back to normal and go on about its, you know, whatever chicken does.
Did you get the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
I did. I took the chicken from it. On top of that,
Now we've seen, you know, this video of Paul with Cash, Rogan's dog. Did you know that was going on? What do you remember about that?
I knew Paul was fooling with, when I pulled up on the golf cart, Maggie was standing back sort of where the driveway would be. It sort of runs out at the feed room. The storage room's what we call it. It's been called the feed room. But it sort of ran a little bit further up where she could see back in that angle where the dogs were. Paul was fooling with Rogan's dog back towards the kennel. If I remember when I first got there, Paul was more in the driveway, but then I knew Paul was in the kennel fooling with Cash, yes. But did I know what he was doing? I didn't know
He
what
knew
he
he
was
was
doing.
in the
No.
kennel fooling with them.
I knew he was fooling with his tail.
Was Cash in the kennel when you pulled up, you think?
Not when I first got there.
Did Bubba or Grady have any collars on?
Yes.
Which, both dogs, one dog?
I don't know about Grady, but I know Bubba had on his, what we call a tracking collar. Paul, for his hunting dogs, Paul had a
haven't they
series
asked
of tracking
what
collars.
he did
And I
with the
think there were 5. It might have been
when
6.
he got a
but
shower?
There's a tracking collar.
It can't be
that had
found anywhere. What
a
happened?
device tell you where that collar was, so that Bubba was
The
bad
prosecution
about,
better
you know,
ask that.
He would stay close for a minute, but then he would take off, and he especially do that on Maggie. He would take off and run, and so he had on a tracking collar that if he did that, you could, a half a mile down here. It's not going to follow him, but so far, but it would follow a good long distance. So you could go get the dog if he ran off, which Bubba frequently would do, especially when it was just Mags and Bubba. Paul probably would have been the one to put that on Bubba.
So you've got us where you've gotten the chicken out of Bubba's mouth and put it up on a doghouse or something?
I believe what I put it on, and I don't remember this, but I've seen pictures and all this, and I saw the chicken sitting on top of the what looks to me like a portable dog crate. Wherever it was sitting on there is where I would have put it up there. You know, I don't have any reason to believe anybody else moved that chicken, and it ultimately, that chicken did die.
And what did you do after you got the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
I got out of there. I left. I went back to the house.
All right. Well, look, before we do that, we've seen the dog kennel video with Cash and Mr.
No,
Davis.
the outfit that he was
And we slowed it down for
he
him.
was
Do you
wearing
see the water hose in
before
that
he got a
video
shower.
on the ground? You remember seeing that?
It's missing.
Yes,
And they
I did.
believe
water
the
hose
slacks in the
out?
shirt is what he was wearing. All right,
Obviously,
so he claims he got a
in
shower
the video,
before.
but
you know.
I don't specifically
think
remember
he got
that,
a
but I can
shower
look in that
after he
video
killed
and see
them,
it.
and
Right.
he was
But that's
still
not something
in
that I
the
noticed.
slacks and blue
So-
shirt, and he disposed of that outfit
You've
because he
seen it
had
in the
blood
video,
on
yeah.
it, and
Yes,
then
sir.
changed into the new outfit.
And then the two
So
dogs
what
were
happened
out.
to the clothes he was
Absolutely.
wearing in the video?
And then you head back. How did
They're
you get back to
missing.
the
They,
house?
they never found those clothes.
Same route. I mean, the same route I'd
You
come
know what I'm
on. I
talking
came
about,
down the
Mark?
driveway, made a left on, you saw my route in the car.
I think
made-
he got
I
a shower
drove that
after
same
he
route.
killed them quickly.
My question obviously wasn't clear enough. What, were you in a vehicle? You walked? What mode of transportation did you use to get back to the house?
Same way I came. I went back in the golf cart. And it was the golf cart if you remember that Mark Ball testified that he saw, normally would park it, you pull along the front entrance, and either you come in from the left and you go just past it and be on the right, or you come in from the right and you'd be just past it on the left. And that's where I got in it, and that's where I put it back.
Did you do anything else before leaving after you took the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
No.
We've heard about Bubba being stubborn. How long did it take you to get chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
Well, Bubba could be stubborn, but Bubba would listen to me. And another thing, when Bubba had on that collar, one of the other features of that collar was.
What did Bubba have on the collar, or was it Grady?
Bubba had on.
Bubba had the collar.
I know Bubba had a collar on, and I'm not sure about Grady.
Okay, go ahead.
If I misspoke on that, there's no question about it. Bubba had on a collar. I assume Grady did too. But I didn't, even though I saw Grady, I didn't notice for a fact that Grady probably did.
Jackson, thanks for coming by.
Makes sense to me that he did.
How long did it take to get the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
It didn't take long. Number one, Bubba's coming back there to show me, hey, I caught this chicken. So he's not running from me. He's proud of that fact that he caught this chicken. So
Jim
he
is a
comes
mess.
right up to me.
You should never put that tweet out.
Bubba was
and
really strong.
Her pooping
but,
with that gun
you know,
comment,
you just-
that was offhand. That
take your thumb.
That was not cool.
When the dog's clenched and his mouth's a little bit open, all you do is you take your thumb and you push his gum in really tight against those sharp teeth, and his mouth opens right. Took the chicken out and put it on, I believe, the portable dog kennel.
And then left.
And then I left.
Then leave, okay. And
I think he all right, so this is
Did
what
you
I
go
think
back to the
happened.
house?
I think
I
he had
went
the old
straight
clothes
back
on. I
to the
think he
house,
hosed
to the air
himself
conditioner.
down
and what'd you do when you got back to the house?
before he got in the golf cart. Then he got in the golf cart,
And then what?
drive back to the house,
Well, let me-
got a
was she yelling
shower
when you went
right
back?
quick.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, no, because the ATV
TV
was
never
at the
got cut off.
property. Was at the kennels.
We went back to the
So
house, you laid down
maybe he
on the
took his
couch,
truck
and then what
down
happened
there?
next?
I'm not.
No, because his
I'm not
truck was
positive for a minute.
No, he
or
took Paul's
didn't
truck
doze
back.
off for a minute, but
or something like
I
that.
got up off of the couch.
Maybe they can switch him up on
and
that.
I
Where was Paul's truck
I
at?
made
Was
up
it
my
at the
mind I was
kennel
going to visit my
or
mom.
was it at the house?
Had you spoken to Barbara Mixon earlier in the day?
I did. I
And
talked to Barbara most days. If I didn't see her, I talked to her.
beginning of your mother's condition late on the afternoon of the 7th.
She was agitated, which she got agitated when my dad.
Oh, I think he could have
we
took
were
a
putting
shower
my
real
dad
quick for sure.
in the hospital.
Or at least hosed himself down
He had a
and
lot
had
of
a bunch of clothes in
18
his car
months.
waiting. So maybe he just took the outfit
2
on,
years. I
hosed
mean, my dad
himself
was in the
down because there
hospital.
was a tail in his
He was in the
Suburban.
hospital a lot. And my mom,
Like there was a big beach towel in his Suburban. He could have.
I
I mean,
believe my mom
obviously
knew
he had
when my
planned
dad
it, so
wasn't there
maybe he
because-
had clothes, a
I
bag.
mean, she would get
Had a
agitated. I
plastic
mean, that's just
bag.
the only term you can
Yeah,
think
so
of.
one
She'd
of the
get agitated.
F-150s was in the
cry a
shop, but
lot.
Paul
She'd,
was driving the other one.
She'd be fussy when she normally wouldn't be fussy.
There was like
I mean,
another
she
one that
was,
he
I
was
know
driving.
Alzheimer's patients are unpredictable, but I'm convinced she knew because
Well,
it happened
he
frequently.
probably had a plastic
Barbara Ann
bag
told me
somewhere where he just threw his clothes in
Mom's
there, hosed
agitated.
himself
You need
down.
to give her
new fresh
medicine.
pair of
She's
clothes he had
rested.
in the golf cart maybe.
So it wasn't
or
anything
somewhere. He had
urgent. But she's
And
rested. So
then
what
dried
Barbara
off with
would
that
do,
big
and
beach
Barbara could
towel and was
handle
out.
her. Barbara could handle her better than, I mean, my mama. We all love Barbara. My mama loved Barbara. Barbara could get my mom to do things that nobody else. When she'd fuss for anybody else, including me or my brothers or my sisters, Barbara could get her, in order. And but Barbara had given her medicine and to settle her down and calm her down and her go to sleep for a little while. But then she'd be agitated when she woke up.
So did you go check on your mom?
I did.
Did,
He's a lawyer though, so he
Where did
knows
you
it
park
had to
when you
be
got
a
there?
tight timeline. So he hosed
And the-
himself down, or he
You
got to
saw
that
the
house,
pictures?
got a shower
There's
real
two exits
quick.
off of that
and left.
deck. One of them to the right, one of them straight out that back door. I would have parked to the left. If you're coming down these steps, if these are the steps, it would be to the left and back over there,
all right,
which is where I always parked, or where we always parked anytime you were going in that entrance.
all right, I'm gonna stop there and, ask Doug, if you don't mind pulling up State's Exhibit 524, which is the GM OnStar data, and slide 38.
Admitting that he
Which is an
lied
evidence.
about the kennels is big.
Can you see this, the slide with those dots,
Yes, sir.
Alec?
I can.
Red dots here at the, that seem to be joined. Where is that in relation to your parents' house?
Where the arrow is?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's back in the area where I'm talking about. All right, so if you look in this picture, all right, you see you see the open area with the green grass? That's the front door. Okay, yeah, right where that circle is. That's the front door. Closely at the house, you can see a big dormer right in the middle of the roof. That's right over the front door. The white thing to the left of the house, that's like a parking pad where the driveway.
She wasn't even
is.
awake at the time.
And there's a parking pad. Like, so you go, if you follow the driveway all the way to the house, straight into a carport, all right, by the carport door. Just to the left, before you get to the carport, is this area that you can see here. That's part driveway, mainly parking pad.
All right, I'm gonna, Doug, if you'll pull up Defendant's Exhibit 130, which is in evidence, please.
Yeah.
And from this photo, can you point out roughly where you parked that evening?
All right, this is the entrance to the right that I'm talking about. There's an exit and an entrance right in front of that door that you see there. So if you came down those steps, walk to your left, would be parked.
Oh, would you have parked on the grass?
You get on the edge of the grass back there. There's some grass there for sure, but it's not the area up here by the house where it's sodded and
Sure.
this grass that you can really see in this picture. It may be on the edge of the grass, yes.
In relation to the satellite dish, are you looking at this photo? Are you to the right of that?
Yeah, you'd be to the right of that satellite dish.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I believe
was-
that satellite dish is right on the edge of the, there's, and like, you see the, I don't know what you call it, a border, like a border where the grass ends and the flower bed or whatever it is starts.
Right.
I think, you can't see it, but I think that satellite's probably close to that border.
All right, well, let's,
So it'd be to the
Let's put
right of
another-
that in this.
Doug, will you pull up a Defendant's Exhibit 134, see if this is a. So
Yeah.
is the door that you're talking about?
That's it.
The stairs are those the ones where you would enter?
Right. That I used that night that we always used. And one of the reasons being is my dad, this door goes into what we call the breakfast room. The breakfast room leads right into the kitchen. And so straight through, all of the breakfast room is kind of to the left. That door goes straight through another doorway. There's no door there, but it's like just an opening. It goes into the kitchen. Immediately to your right of that entrance into the kitchen is the entrance into where my mom and dad's rooms were. So if you went through that door, you were in a little area that had my mom's closet. A little bit further, you go into my mom's bedroom. If you went to the right, you would go, my dad and my mom didn't sleep in the same room at this point, but the bedrooms were, they were back to back. There was a door going from one to the other that was blocked, but was there. And then there was a bathroom. So this is really the part of the house that at their age was getting used. So that's why you went in this entrance, because my mom and whoever was caring for her was always in her bedroom, which would be just on the other side of the room that has these windows that you see to the right. All right, those would be the windows for the room where my dad slept.
Right.
And then my mom's right on the other side. The kitchen's right there. This is the part of the house they were always in.
And are you the only one that would pull up in the back like that?
No.
Is it common for your brothers and your sister to do the same?
Oh, we all did it. I mean, we all parked in the same way. If you knew you
either
were going
way,
to the
he's
front of
going
the
to jail
house, or if
for
you
a
knew
long
there was a
time
crowd
for those
there,
financial
or
crimes.
for whatever, you may park on the driveway, but if you knew
But I do
under
hope
normal circumstances,
that
my
he
dad
gets tried
always
for
stayed
murder.
in the breakfast room where he had a recliner and a TV. That's where my dad always was. My dad you would never go catch him sitting in the den up front or in a living room. He just wasn't up there. He was in this room watching TV, or either he was on this back deck. And my mom was either in her room, which was just off of, or she might be in the kitchen or the breakfast room.
And when you got to the house, who was there? Your mother's house on the night of June 7th.
My mom was there and Shelley Smith was there.
And what did you do when you got there?
The first thing I did was
So who was
I
Barbara?
knocked on the door. The door was locked. I knocked on the door. Shelley didn't hear me.
And then what'd you do next?
I called.
Called what?
I called my mom's house to let Shelley know I was there. Please come let me.
And is that the house phone that's been referred to?
Yes,
Okay. And did she let you in?
sure.
And then what happened next?
I went in and I visited with my mom. You want me to go into detail on that?
Well, just briefly. Yeah. What'd you do?
I
She
went in the
was
house.
prison though, wasn't she?
In my mom's bedroom, that was where she slept in normal times. It was like, a bed with,
K-Brays,
posts coming out of
they
the corner, a
are
poster bed
saying
that, coming out of the corners.
around 9
And she had a
o'clock,
bed like
but
that.
that their
where she slept,
bodies
but
could
she
have
didn't sleep
been
there anymore.
cooled
But
down
it
a
was
little
in the
bit
room.
because they were maybe a little
So
bit
you
before then. But
walked
the
in the
guy
room, her
who
bed was to the
estimated the
right.
time of death
Against the wall to the left was a
basically
hospital
just
bed,
stuck
like a
his
single bed,
fingers in
but a hospital bed.
their
And a
armpits
TV.
to
And then
decide.
there
He
was
didn't
a
actually take a
recliner where whoever
temperature.
was helping her
So
would usually sit.
I don't know.
So I sat
I
down
think
on my mom's
around 8:50
hospital
because
bed.
around
And
8:50 was
I just
when
talked to her for a minute. My
all
mom was awake.
text and
And I
phone
held her hand.
activity ceased.
And
So Paul was literally in the middle of
she was,
a
her
flirtatious
condition was
conversation with a girl,
at any time, but
and then he
given
stopped
her
texting her
overall
around 8:50.
condition, she seemed
You
to
know,
be
when
doing
you're like
pretty well.
flirting with
I mean,
somebody,
she
I mean,
wasn't
at least that's how I think it is,
agitated
kind of flirty.
like I thought she
You
would
just don't
be,
stop.
or like I was
You
worried
know
she
what I
would be,
mean?
or like
So
Barbara
I'm
had
guessing
described
around
her at that
8:50.
point. So
The
she
guy
wasn't
who
agitated.
estimated
And,
time to death
I just talked to her.
says
Anytime
around 9 o'clock.
we
But
talked to my
again, he
mom, we
didn't
always
actually
tried to be
use a
real
thermometer.
positive
He
and,
just stuck his fingers in their
you know,
armpits
upbeat
and guessed that
just-
way. And he said their
and I
bodies
just
could have
talked to
been
her.
cooled
You know,
down
I just talked to
faster
her,
at that
made sure she
point
was okay.
because of them things like that.
Seated
So
on the side of
probably
her
around
hospital
8:50,
style bed, or
which
did you move around?
is
I mean, I
extremely
stayed there
tight
for a few
timeline
minutes.
for Alex
You
because
know,
we
I
know
stayed there
he
and I
was
talked to
there
her more
at
than just a few
8:44.
seconds. And then, but I didn't stay there. She was, she did look So I got up and I went and I think I sat on my mom's bed for a minute to start with, and then I laid down on my mom's bed, which is, that's what I normally did when I went in there. There wasn't like a lot of chairs to sit in, and I just laid back on the bed.
Now, when you
Talked to
talk,
Shelley and we watched TV.
now, when you're talking about your mom's bed, are you referring to her regular bed?
Not her hospital bed, not the bed she was in, but her bed, the one I was talking about with like posts.
Right. Let me skip something. Was Maggie planning to go over to your mother's with you that night?
No, she wasn't planning to go with me that night.
Okay.
No, in fact, Maggie didn't
No,
really
why
like
didn't they go to the
to visit
hospital?
my mom. It was
To visit his dad. Like,
my dad, and she loved to spend time with my dad. And she spent a lot of time with my mom when my mom was healthy. But, by this point, my mom, she was a shell. And she was a shell of her old self. And
Okay.
it was kind of sad to go and visit her anytime. She wasn't healthy. And Maggie didn't like to go and just visit my mom.
When you left Moselle to head to Almeda, the evening after you'd
exactly,
go back
Mark.
to the house at Moselle, what
Say that
exit,
again, Jim?
what exit did you use of the Moselle property when you're going to Almeda on the evening of June 7th?
I went out the main gates, which would be straight ahead. You've heard of the two gates. There's the shop entrance. There's actually several entrances, but the main ones we used, there was an entrance further down by Sawtooth Oaks, but the main ones we used were the shop entrance and what we call the main entrance, where the brick gates were.
Did you go? Why didn't you go by the kennels on your way out?
There wasn't a reason to go by the kennels at that point, and I was going, which that the main gate would be the gates that were closer.
Did you notify Maggie in some form
Yeah.
that you were leaving to go to see your mom?
I tried.
And did she answer?
No,
And what'd you do after that?
I think I tried to call her again.
And
Let's be
Did she answer?
serious.
No, she
What
didn't answer. And at some
Who
point, I
shows
texted
up to
her
someone's
after
property
that.
to plan on
the fact that
killing
she didn't
them
answer
with
them
no
2
weapon?
times, did that concern you?
At that time,
Right.
number one,
They used his own weapon
she was with Paw.
or Paul's weapons.
So, no, number two, it's not unusual to not be able to get somebody off when they're at the house or it's on the property. You've heard all the testimony about how spotty cell service was. So, no, at the time, it didn't strike me as anything unusual.
Okay. Now, moving back to Almeda, you spent time with your mother and then you left to head back to Moselle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you drive straight back to Moselle?
I did.
Now, Alec, there's some information from off your Suburban and perhaps some of this OnStar GPS data that indicates that at some point in time in your mother's driveway, you stopped for about a minute. Do you recall seeing that data?
I did.
What were you doing when you stopped?
I
Do
was
you recall?
getting my phone my phone had gotten, there was a console in the middle of my car and my phone had gotten down in the console, between the console and the seat where you couldn't get to it.
I was thinking that too. Maybe he had
Were you-
somebody ready to take everything.
During that minute or however long it was, were you disposing of Alex?
No,
I wish they would have
Were you
brought Eddie on
disposing
the
of
stand.
bloody clothes?
no.
And your ride back to Moselle, was it, were you driving faster than normal?
I was driving however I drive, normal way that I drive.
When you got back to the Moselle property, how the property, what entrance did you use?
Came right back through the main gate,
And what'd you do then?
went straight to the house.
And when you got to the house, what'd you do?
I went inside.
Were lights on when you pulled up? Or?
Lights were on in the house for sure. I can't remember if there were floodlights on or not. I don't believe there were any floodlights on, but there were definitely lights. All the lights in the house were on, yes.
And when you,
And Shelly said he wouldn't use that late
roughly.
either. Like, why would you go that late? Your mom.
Now that I've
What
seen
is
the
the point?
benefit of these records, I was in there several minutes.
obviously, I mean,
Oh yeah, that was a very detailed
surprised
star
that Paul
description, and
Maggie had not made it back to the
thankfully
house?
You know, I don't know, surprised,
we were that.
but I mean, I thought they would have been back by then, you know, but I mean, did it cause me to go into any, it wasn't like I was shocked. But I mean, I thought they would be there. I mean, I distinctly remember, you know, I went and looked. Sometimes I was very hot natured. Number one, I was hot, I was heavy, and I was taking pills. So I was always hot. Maggie was always cold. Sometimes she would watch TV. We had a TV in the hunting room. You see on the wall there. Sometimes Maggie would be in there watching TV where she could have the thermostat different than we always kept it cold in the main part of the house. So I know I went in there and looked in there for her. It's not unusual for Maggie to be taking a bath and be not able to hear me. So I went back there and I know I did those two things and looked in those two places, and they weren't there. And so,
Does anyone remember
I've been at the
Undertaker said he
kennels,
was wearing
and
when he
I
visited
assume they
his
were still
mom?
up there.
Was it that blue shirt?
So what'd you do?
Because
I
if
went to the
he's still
kennels.
wearing that blue shirt, and
I
there's
may have tried to
black,
call them. In fact, I probably did try to call them. I would think I called them.
that would mean he
But as I sit here right now, I'm not
He
positive,
didn't
but
get
I
a
would
shower
think I
yet?
did. Would think I tried to call them to see.
And now that did you drive down to the kennels in your Suburban?
Wait, I'm confused. I need to go back and listen to what she said he was wearing.
I did.
What'd you see?
Saw what y'all have seen pictures of.
Oh, there's some snot coming out of his nose. Oh, Lord. I think he's letting it fall from his mouth, though.
So bad.
It looks like it was coming from his mouth. Stephen Smith, his dad was there before law enforcement, right? Not Alec. Alec was for the Stephen Smith case. I think Randy got to the crime scene before law enforcement even got there. And
Did you
Randy
see
was
them
like the
on
second to call
pulling up in
them
your
and like
Suburban?
offer help or something like that. It's crazy that
I did.
And
that's
what'd
how
you
they
do
do though, you know,
when you
trying
came
to
to a
stay on
stop,
top
Alan?
of all this
I
stuff.
think I jumped out of my car.
There's no way he had time to jump out of his car
Not
and check
exactly
their
sure
pulses.
what I did, but
He
no, I got out
called
of my car.
911 in like 20
No, I ran back to
seconds.
my car, called
Yeah,
911.
mouth snot.
I called
I was thinking
911.
maybe he was letting it fall
I
from
was
his
on the
mouth to
phone
make
with
it look like it was
911. I
dripping
was
from his
trying to
eyes.
tend to Paw. I was trying to tend to Maggie.
You're so
And
full
I
of
just went
crap.
back
You
and
didn't even
forth
have blood
between
on
them.
you. You weren't trying to
Were
attend
you
to nobody. If I had
going
pulled
to
up
Paul
on
and Maggie
that,
while you were on the
I would have
phone
been
with
covered
the
in blood,
911
grabbing my
operators?
kid. No way.
Yes.
He has not a
Yes.
speck of blood on him.
And in a little bit, I'm going to play the 911 tape, but I just want to ask you, and you've told law enforcement that's been played here in the court. What did you do when you went up to Paul at some point in time?
And Paul. Paul was so bad. I know. I know. I tried to check him for a pulse.
He did not try and check him for a pulse. He didn't do
I
anything.
know. I tried to turn him over.
He had no blood on him. No way.
When
Can
say
you
you're
imagine trying to
over,
turn
you
somebody
tried to turn him over?
who literally has a hole in their head? No way.
I don't know.
No way.
I don't know. I don't know
He
why I
was
tried to turn him over.
clean as a
Me and my
whistle.
boys laying face down.
He would not have had time to jump
Gun
out
the
of
way
his
he's
car,
done.
check their
Head was the
pulses,
way his head
try and
was.
turn Paul, check his
I could see
phone,
his,
and then call
could see his
911 in
brain
like
laying on the sidewalk.
10 seconds or however. It was a very
I
short
didn't know
amount of
what
time.
to do. I tried to turn him over. So I grabbed him by the belt loop and tried to turn him over. And when I did,
His
phone popped
glasses
out.
are really
His
annoying me. Like,
phone
push your
popped out.
glasses up.
Just picked it up and I put it right back there.
Do you have any idea how it popped out?
I know it came out of his pocket when I pulled on his belt loop. When I pulled him to turn him over, and it just popped out. And it popped right beside him. It sat right beside him.
Were you able to turn Paul at all?
I didn't. I don't know if I was able to. I didn't turn him over. No.
There's no way. No way.
No.
It's annoying me that he's trying to
What
say
side
that.
of the?
No way.
On what side of Paul were you when you were doing this?
I was on the side that was away from. I was on the side that was away from where my car was.
Okay. What'd you do with the phone?
I put it back on Pawpaw.
You know if you put it, which way it was pointing, upside down, down?
Couldn't tell you anything about it. I know his phone popped out. I picked it up and I put it back on him.
Did you see any messages on Paul's phone?
No.
Did you go to Maggie?
Did.
Did you touch her?
I did.
Where did you touch Maggie?
Yep, exactly, Cave Ray. You're full of crap.
I think I touched her down just around like I don't know.
Just
I
takes
don't
a
know.
long time.
If you ask me exactly, I think I touched her down around her waist, but I don't know. It was so bad. Excuse me. I know I went back and forth. I went back and forth between them. I know I did.
I'd like to play, Doug, the Colleton County portion of the 911 call, which is in evidence as defendant's exhibit number 9. And Doug, this is the long version, the first clip, and stop it, please.
2021, 22 hours, 7 minutes, 9 seconds.
I'm still here, okay? County Communication. I have an Alex Murdaugh on 4147 Mobile Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot. Okay, and so give me the address again.
This was at 10:07. Like he arrived at like 10:06 and like some seconds, and this was at 10:07, like or 10:06:59.
I've been up to it now, and it's bad. What are you referring to?
I'm talking about what I saw was what y'all saw pictures of. And I mean, it was bad. It was terrible. And when I first got there, I know I got out of the car. And I mean, I know I got out of the car. I mean, I knew. Got out of the car, but right at first, I didn't go. I don't think I went all the way to them. I think I ran back and I called 911. And so I called 911. And while I was doing that, then is when I went to Maggie and I went to Paul. And so that's what I think I'm talking about.
Okay. Keep going, please.
Do it now, it's fast. Okay. How do they shoot? Do they shoot themselves? Oh no, hell no. Okay, and are they breathing? No, ma'am. You said it's your wife and your son? My wife and my son. Are they in a vehicle? No, ma'am, they're on the ground out at my kennel.
Mark.
Okay, and did you see anyone?
Shot in the head, and he shot really bad. He shot it.
Okay, where is he shot at?
Ma'am, I don't know, but there's blood everywhere.
I do too, K Brave. I feel like
I see his brain. Face down, I turned her a little bit. Got a hole in her head.
Okay, is he breathing at all?
right.
No,
I agree. So
no,
he needs to be on.
Okay, do you see anything?
Oh wow.
Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No.
Is there any guns near them at all?
No. Here.
What color is your house on the outside?
If that's what you're asking, they didn't shoot themselves, ma'am.
What?
Alec, right in there, you say the word here. What, are you calling anybody?
No, I'm talking to that dispatcher.
And what did you mean when you said here?
If you listen to that call, one of the first things she asked me, it's one of the first things, did they shoot themselves? And I knew there's no way. I mean, I knew they didn't shoot themselves. It wasn't a gun. They didn't shoot themselves. And she'd asked me that. And then she asked me another question, something about that. You hear me say here, and then you hear
Mark. There you
thing
go.
talking. I'm telling her here, and then I say something, and then you hear me say, if that's what you're
That was
asking.
really kind of
And
you. Thank you.
I'm letting her know
He said, I figured
they
out
didn't
the
shoot
system.
themselves. Here, and then I give her an explanation, which you can't hear on that phone, but it's obvious to me what I'm doing. And I say, if that's what you're asking me. So like David Owens asked me on August 11th, did I call a dog or was I talking to somebody? There was no dog that was out and there.
Well, let's talk about that briefly. Well, when you got there and you saw Maggie and Paul, where were the dogs?
The dogs were in the kennels. Dogs were in the kennels. They were wherever they were when law enforcement got there.
And you've seen pictures, and they called Dale Davis to the stand and talk about the hose rolled up. Did you roll the hose up?
No.
Did you do anything down there at the kennels when you got there other than call 911 and attend to Maggie and Paul?
No, I do know that I was trying to find a flashlight. I was trying to find a gun. Other than those things, no, I didn't do anything at the kennel. I didn't do anything with any hose. I didn't do anything with any dogs.
Was there anybody with you?
No.
All right, keep going, please.
Okay, is it a house or a mobile home?
It's a house.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Alex Murdaugh.
It's a house.
Okay, did you hear anything or did you come home and find out?
I've been gone. I just came back.
Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house?
No, ma'am. Please hurry.
We're getting somebody out there to you.
Oh, man. Oh, should have known.
Alec, we just heard you say, I should have known. What are you referring to?
I should have known.
What were you referring to?
I was referring to Paul got so many threats. Didn't take serious. Think twice about. Him, Paul, I should have known. I don't specifically remember saying that, but I can clearly hear myself say that.
Okay. What kind of threats did you understand
with him.
Paul was receiving?
I mean, Paul got the most vile threats. I mean, the stuff that was on social media. I mean, it was. I mean, you couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe it. It was so over the top. Truthfully, we didn't think anything about it. I mean, it was just so crazy that, we just, I mean, people talking about what he was going to get and how they were going to do this. I mean, it's stuff you really, I mean, we disregarded it because it's so over the top. Thought it's so over the top.
Keep going, please, Doug.
Exactly, Russ.
Okay, what is her name?
Maggie and Paul.
Maggie is her name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When's the last time you talked to Maggie?
Hour and a half ago, probably 2 hours ago.
Okay, you said about 2 hours ago you talked to them?
Approximately, yes, ma'am, approximately.
Well, you were asked the last time you saw them, and you said hour and a half, 2 hours ago, and then she followed up 2 hours ago. You just heard that?
I did hear that.
Um,
And I said approximately to her
Right.
question.
When was the last time you saw them, Maggie and Paul?
Right after I took the chicken from Bubba.
And the is timestamp 8:44 p.m.
Here's my
Right.
issue with everything too. If people were coming
That's right.
to kill Paul,
Shortly after
and Maggie,
8:44.
It was.
why would they not
And
come
It wasn't
with
long
their
after
own
that because
guns,
you can hear when
knowing
Bubba gets
that
the
this
chicken.
family
It wasn't long after I took.
and they're avid hunters? I
And
mean,
then you
why
called
would anyone
911.
risk showing
the
up to a
records of
gunfight
that,
with
but
no guns?
remember roughly
Why would they risk
9:07 or
going there?
right before 9:07.
And here's my thing:
I mean, I've seen the records and seen the
if it
transcripts.
was
Yeah.
somebody else,
And then
and
this
they
is
were
and the
had
record
to
of this,
use,
but this is
they
some
didn't
minutes
bring their own
into
guns,
one
were
operator.
friends with
Right.
Paul.
That's right.
There's no
Like-
way they would have been able to get there.
Knowing everything we
within
know now,
5 minutes.
was it roughly
of
an hour and a
Alex
half the last
leaving.
time you saw him?
It was.
And seemed
That would
unassuming.
with the time of however long it took to get to this
Paul
point,
and
how many
Maggie
minutes that is
long enough to get there.
10,
talk with
however
them,
many, you can look
make them feel
exactly at the
comfortable,
point this
and
is,
grab a
know
gun
what
and
time
kill
it is,
them.
but it's between 10 and
You get what I'm
10:15.
saying?
And so I'd seen them around
Like if somebody had just shown up there to kill them,
8:45.
and that they trusted
Little
them,
bit
there's no
after.
way they just showed up, grabbed a gun, and boom. They would have had to talk for a little
All
bit,
right, please keep going.
this and that. It just doesn't make sense.
No, I talked to her in person.
You talked to her in person?
Yeah, there's no way he spent $60K a week on pills. No way.
Please hurry.
But we're getting somebody out there to you. Me asking you these questions, don't slow them down, okay? And you sure they're not breathing? Is he moving at all, your son? I know you said that she was shot in the head, but what about your son?
Nobody. They're not. Neither one of them moving.
Like that makes sense, right? Like if
What is your telephone number?
942-1227. I'm going back to my
let's
house.
just say Paul had an issue with somebody.
Just in
Right.
case.
They came over. They're not just going to show up, grab
Alex,
a
you get a
gun,
gun?
I did.
and start shooting.
And is-
You know, they got to talk to him, you know, whatever, get them in a position where they could sneak and grab a gun.
And how did you load this gun? What did you load it with, if anything?
That was
Yeah,
a gun.
they absolutely had
As
to
best
be
I
around
can
when
remember, a gun off the pool table where you heard there was some other gun. I think that gun was laying with that pool table. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it was on that pool table. Would have been the first place I came to. I know I was grabbing the first gun I could get. I grabbed a handful of shells out of the that I could get my hands
If
on.
it was
I know
somebody had an
gun
issue with,
had a shell in it
things would have looked different.
that I loaded, and
You know what I mean?
I know I had a few shells. So
And it wouldn't have
Have
been
you
able
seen
to
in this
happen
case
in
where there's
such
a
a tight
16 gauge shell
timeline.
put in that gun?
I've seen in the records and I've seen and heard in the testimony that I put a 16 gauge shell in the gun.
Is that a 16 gauge shotgun?
It's not a 16 gauge shotgun. It's a
Why'd you
12
put
gauge.
a shell in it?
I obviously didn't realize what I was doing. I mean, I know you can't put a 16 gauge shell in a 12 gauge gun and not, I mean, I've been hunting my whole life. I know you can't do that. That's not a mistake I would have made. That's not a mistake I'd have made under circumstances other than that night.
Why did you go back to the house to get a gun?
I just didn't know. I didn't know. I mean,
The timeline is just too tight for that theory to work. Like way too tight.
I mean, it's just, I didn't know if somebody was still out there. I don't know. I guess I didn't know.
Please keep going.
I really like that they have the close up on his brother. I hope they leave it there.
Ma'am, not particularly, really, no, ma'am.
Okay.
Go back to where he said he's going to my house to get a gun, just a few seconds back, 10 seconds maybe.
I know you're upset, Mr. Murdaugh, but I don't want you to get a gun whenever my officers get there, okay?
Back up some more. Back up some more, please.
I have, just to get a gun, just in case.
What is your telephone number?
942-1227. I'm going to my house just to get a gun, just in case. I'm about 100 yards from my house.
Al, you said you're about 100 yards from the house?
That's what I said.
Is it much further than that?
As you've heard in the testimony, it's 1,100 and something feet, but
Okay.
I said I was 100 yards.
You were wrong about your estimate?
I'm sure I was wrong.
Okay. Keep going.
And does anything look out of place?
Ma'am, not particularly, really, no, ma'am.
Okay. I know you're upset, Mr. Murdaugh, but I don't want you to get a gun and have a gun out whenever my officers get there, okay?
I will not do that. He's been being threatened by, my son had a boat wreck. He's been being threatened for months and months and months. He's been hit several times.
Do you know who was threatening your son?
It's too many. Over the phone. 1 second.
You don't know the name of who was threatening him at all?
My son knows. My son knows.
Your son knows who was threatening him?
I have another son now.
Okay.
I got Rosie with me.
All right, I'm going back down there.
Say hi, Rosie. There. Say hi. I know Rosie. He looks sus, doesn't he? You don't believe him either.
All right. Roll to the next tape of the same call.
2021, 22 hours, 13 minutes, 58 seconds.
Are they closed, ma'am?
Yeah, they've been around with you ever since you got on the phone with me. I have multiple people coming out there to you.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has figured out the membership algorithm.
Okay, can you do me a favor, Mr. Murdaugh, and turn on the flashers on your car so that way they can see where the kennels are? Do you have your flashes on for me, Mr. Murdaugh?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want you to touch them at all, okay? I don't know if you've already touched them, but I don't want you to touch them just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay?
I already touched them trying to get to see if they were breathing.
No, Alex, that second clip starts at 22:13, 10:13, 58, and you're asked, you're told don't touch them. Had you touched them by then?
Yes,
And that way you told the 911 operator.
it is.
And can you say exactly during that
Rosie doesn't like
6,
that her
7
and
minutes
Alex match each other.
when you actually touched them?
I know I touched Maggie.
Oh my
I
God.
touched Maggie several times, but I mean, I think I didn't. I don't think I touched Pawpaw, but 2 times.
Did you touch
Ew,
one
man.
or both of them
Wait a
before
minute.
you got in the car and
Dude.
drove back to the house?
Yes. Yeah.
One or both? Do you know?
Both.
His brother's crying. Look.
All right, keep going, please.
Okay. Well, I just anything just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay?
Oh.
Did your son, I know you said that he had been threatened, did your son make reports of this at all?
Yes, ma'am.
He did.
Al, you informed the 911 operator that Paul had made reports of these threats. What are you referring to?
I mean, I just know that it had been reported. I don't know that I believe there was any like formal police reports or that type of thing. But I mean, it had been reported, and I mean, it was well known.
Okay. So, were you saying he had filed some official report when you said yes?
No, a police report or some formal report like that. No.
Do you know whether or not he made some type of report on campus?
Oh, I know he did.
What do you know?
I mean, I know that there was a when he was asked to come meet with God, I can't even remember the gentleman's name now, but I appreciated it so much that I never thought I'd forget it. But
Counseling service?
yeah, he was the dean of students. But anyway, he reached out to Pawpaw and wanted to talk to him. And I mean, at first we were concerned, you know, why they want to talk to him? And I mean, even I believe I had Paul come talk to you about that because we were concerned, well, what are they going to talk to him about? But when Paul and Jim got there, it turns out that it was really just I mean, they were wanting to make sure he was okay. But, you know, just make sure he was okay. And I know that, you know, they were aware of the threats or some level of threats. And so, yeah, I mean, it had already been reported to them.
Keep going, Doug.
And what's your son's name?
Paul,
Paul?
ma'am, I'm gonna call, I need to call some of my family.
Okay.
On this.
Well, do me a favor for me. Whenever you see the officer or the medics, because they put your gun in your vehicle for me.
Absolutely.
Okay. But we have them come and turn on the flashes on your vehicle so they can see you, okay? You got the flashes on for me?
I do.
Okay. All right. Just put your gun up for me, okay?
Okay.
How old is your son?
22.
Okay. All right. We're getting them out there to you, okay?
And I will let you talk.
All right.
So Alec, did you call family after you got off the call with the operator?
Yes.
Who'd you call?
I know I called my brother Randy. I know I called my brother John. And I know I tried to call Rhoda family, but I called Randy and John. And I called Randy and John.
And then you just mentioned Rodo?
Rogan. We called him Rodo. I called him Roro.
Why did you try to call Rogan?
I mean, Rogan's house was like, I don't know, as the crow flies, maybe 2.5 miles, 3 miles. I mean, Rogan was like family.
This person?
Yeah, I just wanted somebody. I wanted somebody to be out there.
Had you seen Rogan's name on Paul's phone in any way that night?
No.
You called, did Rogan answer?
No.
Did you try him multiple times?
Looking at these records, I believe that I did, but I believe some of those are
yes, perfect
like
use of that
FaceTime
emoji,
calls that are to
Emily.
Rogan. Trying to call him, but I don't believe that was me actually.
Yeah, everyone has a nickname. Sorry, I walked
FaceTime
away to
people,
get some
so
snackies.
I think that's
I'm hungry for
either
lunch.
me trying to call him and hitting FaceTime, or that's me hitting buttons or hitting the phone.
In the State's Exhibit 519, which is the condensed timeline done by Agent Rudofsky, there's an indication, Alec, that at 10:22:09, you opened a group text message from Michael Gunn stating she brought the heat for Miami boys. Were you reading text messages from Michael Gunn right after you got off with the 911 operator?
I heard them ask that question. I can promise you I wasn't reading any text messages.
If y'all can't tell, I'm a reptile and lizard enthusiast. He's actually just dealing with my
There's also an entry,
monitored lizard who is hanging from
Alec, that says
from the ceiling of his
at
tank.
10:40 p.m. that you did a Google search or a Safari browser search for Whaley's at Edisto while your wife and son are laying dead on the ground. Did you do that?
No.
You have
Whaley's is a restaurant at Edisto that we ate at, take out from a lot of times. So I'm assuming it was in my search history, pulling up the restaurant, and I obviously was trying to call people or dialing, and I hit that. I wasn't doing any Google searches.
And as One of the persons that you dialed that night, a wedding photographer?
It's a guy named Brian White. I saw that on the call.
I have
Brian
9
White's a
of
guy
them.
who was in my,
Okay, Grace.
what do you call it? Contacts. That is a videographer that I've used in cases. I haven't used him in 2 years. And he's a good guy, but we're not personal friends. So I'm calling him.
So were you, what does that indicate to you that those actions on your phone, how do you account for that?
Obviously they're unintentional. I mean, I'm doing something with my phone trying to call people, but all those people, I'm not doing a Google search for any Whaley's restaurant, and I'm certainly not reading any text.
I want to ask you,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to go to the jury room for a break for about 10 minutes. Please do not discuss. Here, stay put, Mr. Murdaugh.
Ten-minute break. Great. I take a 10-minute break as soon as I start eating my snackies. So why did he say he called Rogan?
We'll take a 10-minute recess. Step down.
His tail fell off? Oh my gosh. I have an Asian water monitor. He's a baby, but he's going to be, yeah, all that killing made him hungry. He had to look up a restaurant. I have a Asian water monitor. He's a baby, but he'll get about, he can get up to like 6 feet in length. Was who considered a reputable lawyer? Alex? He was, yeah. So wait, he's saying he didn't intend Rogan? Get the hell out of here. He called him like 5 times or something like that. Something crazy.
No, I did not believe he was going to be on the stand, and it was pretty compelling
Oh,
testimony.
your tarantula's going up? I'm
And
not
Tyler,
so
what
much
a
a Spider fan,
denying
but I can
shooting
do
his
like the
wife
little
and son
jumping
Paul,
ones.
but
They're
then
cute.
admitting to being at the kennels. Are you surprised he even admitted to lying about that, or was there just no way around it?
I don't think there was any way around admitting that he was at the kennels. The evidence was overwhelming. The cell phone evidence was. He had to get out front and admit that he was not the shooter, number one, but also admit that he was there. The jury is they've already heard so many bad things about him. I think he had nothing to lose by getting on the stand.
He called
If
Rogan
anything, I think it's more of an opportunity
because
for
he
him
had
to
to do
tell his
damage
side of the
control.
story. And hopefully, the defense say enough that gets him acquitted.
Judge, earlier today, the defense counsel said that Alex Murdaugh wishes to take the stand. Now, could that mean that they weren't really excited for him to take a stand? But because Alex Murdaugh could be such a narcissist and he knows that he has some mark in South Carolina that he said, I'm going to go do this?
Okay, Brady.
It's difficult to speculate what those conversations and why ultimately the decision was made for him to take the stand. I do suspect that it was more at his urging, perhaps, than his counsel. Although, as was just stated, he didn't have much to lose because the picture that was painted of him was pretty damning. And really, this may be the last-ditch effort in order to get from under the bad portrait that's been painted of this defendant through the course of this trial.
Tyler, this is something that all Alex Murdaugh murder trial watchers have wanted to see, him taking the stand, because this is a big deal. Find him so far to be a credible witness. I mean, he came right off the bat and said he lied to the police.
Yeah, so far, I find him to be a credible witness. He came out the bat, admitted to lying to the police. He seemed visibly emotional when he was talking about Paul and his wife,
Credible
Maggie, about.
witness.
And yeah, I think that he's done a good job so far. Now it's easy when he's answering questions from his own lawyers. The cross-examination will be brutal, but I think he's come off as a honest person to his lies and visibly emotional about the death of his family.
Fanon, what did you think of his debate, and how do you think the jury is going to react to all this?
So I think that he was
This is how I
very
feel
well
about
prepared.
Alex.
If you observed his the way that he was even presented
I
on the
love
stand,
this
it was in a
emoji.
very non-threatening, very submissive, almost humble. Over. He was, he didn't look directly for the most part at the jury. He was mostly looking down, and that could be interpreted in a couple of different ways. When he was so upset that he literally had, and I hate to sound disgusting, but he had snot, and it stayed there for a minute before he decided he was going to wipe it away. Making the appearance of a very sympathetic individual in the process of the most devastating circumstances that someone else committed. So I think that physically he is presenting very deliberately as a victim almost.
And he certainly trying to show the jury that he has a softer side, keep on calling his son Paul Murdaugh Pawpaw, which, by the way, is a trending couple of words on social media right now. We're going to have to take a quick break here on Law and Crime, but there is so much to discuss about this Alex Murdaugh murder trial. We're going to go to South moment. Stay with us. You're watching Law and Crime.
Sorry, I had to grab barbecue sauce. Is there anything on Court TV? I can put Court TV on if... Are you talking about anything on Court TV? No. Let me vote. All right, I'll put Law and Crime back on because they usually do like our thing once in a while. Is anyone watching the XX Extension trial, or however the hell you say it? They're saying that they're going to come in and testify. This is okay. Gotcha. I'd be interested to hear Drake testify. I haven't really been keeping up with it though, so I don't know what's going on. Have you guys been following this Justin guy? Oh my gosh. I'm going to be live about it later. Well, it depends. Because if this goes on for like a super long time, I might have, I don't know, I'll decide. But if I don't, if for any reason, come on, one of the days when I do go live tonight, I'm going to be talking about that Justin guy who's just putting out all kinds of crap in the Idaho case right now. that happened in. Yeah, I like watched a little bit of like the coverage of it, but like I haven't really watched the trial, but I saw that they're trying to imply that Drake might have something to do with it because he had like a feud with him. And that Drake might have to testify, which I think would be pretty interesting. The eye drop murder case. What's that? What's the person's name so I can look it up? I'm waiting for the Orson trial, the Vallow trial. Let me look it up. You might have to go to your
Welcome back. There's been a big twist down in South Carolina today as Alex Murdaugh himself took the stand and testified in his own defense. Court is taking a quick break right now, but in case you're just joining us, so far in his testimony, he has admitted to being in the kennels the night of the murders, but has denied killing his son. He also said he lied because of his opioid addiction. And in addition, we saw Murdaugh breaking down multiple times as he recalled finding the bodies of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. And my legal panel, criminal defense attorney and retired Judge Fanon Rucker, as well as criminal defense attorney Tyler Bailey, are here to break it all down. While court is still on a break, we saw defense attorney Jim Griffin right off the bat come out and say, did you kill Maggie and Paul? What did you make of the defense's line of questioning there as soon as Murdaugh took the stand?
I think he did a great job.
She killed her husband with
a 1,000-pound elephant in the room, acting on the stand, giving his story. Immediately
her
out the gate,
husband
saying
with
that
the eye
he was
drop.
not the shooter. He did not kill Maggie, and he did not kill Paul. I think that
Is that
was
what you're
big.
talking about,
The
Lannister
jury
Clayton?
was probably very anxious to see how
She pleaded
how it would
guilty
start out.
to
And I think
voluntary
his
manslaughter
forthcoming answer on
Thursday.
those two issues was the most
I don't know when
important
this
thing
was
that came
written,
out
but
immediately.
let me
After
see.
that, it would be him admitting to his lie.
If it's the
Judge
same
Fanon
person,
Rucker,
is she
what
from
do you
South
think the
Carolina?
prosecution will really hammer on during the cross-examination here?
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many things. What we talked about even before this trial started was kind of the
pled guilty,
movie-like
they won't
script
have
that surrounds this entire
unless
this
she's
entire
like
case.
killing
The
it.
family history, the mysterious deaths, the lies that he did tell, the statement that he made where it sounded like he actually
Yeah,
admitted
so
that he did
in
it. I mean,
Florida,
there's
all right,
so
let
many
me see,
things
because there's one in
that
South
really
Carolina.
are at the crux of why I was shocked that he decided they decided to put him on the stand, because there really are so many things that the prosecution is going to hammer on.
Tyler, is this it now? Alex Murdaugh, whatever he says, is this all people are going to talk about when it comes to this murder trial? Is this all that counts?
Well, I think as of right now, it is all that counts. One thing that Dick mentioned is that if the prosecution can cross-examine him on all financial issues, he anticipated the trial may last another week. There's some other witnesses that could provide testimony on those
Guy
issues.
in North
But I think
Carolina. There's a
Alex,
lot of people
we've
who killed
heard
somebody with eye
the
drops.
prosecution paint him as a liar, that he was cunning, that he stole from his friends and
Is it a
firm for
man
years.
accused of killing his
So I think
wife
Alex
with eye
needed to get on
drops?
the stand to say, yeah, I did lie. I lied about this, and maybe on cross-examination, steal funds from my firm and family, but I did not kill my wife and I did not kill my son. I think the cross-examination is going to be really critical for the defense to see how Alex testifies. And if there are some other witnesses, what purpose will these witnesses bring to further the defense's theory of this case?
Yeah, as Tyler mentioned, it was very right off the bat. He said he lied. And they asked, well, why did you lie? He said,
There's
well,
been a
I
pretty
lied
crazy
because of my
story with that
opioid
guy with a
addiction.
cop who was
Now,
stalking
Fanon,
some
do you
chicks,
think
and then
that
he
matters or
killed,
makes a
he
difference to the
allegedly
jury
killed this
giving
teenage
that
girl?
excuse?
Well, from my observation, that's going to be
Suzanne
another
or
piece for the
something? That was
prosecutor
wild.
to cross-examine him. So you're acknowledging that you have a significant drug addiction, that causes, and I mean, I can promise you there's going to be questions about what it means to have a drug addiction and how that can cloud your judgment, your memory. It can make you do things that you regret later. I mean, there's going to be so many things about him acknowledging, which he had to, opioid addiction as to the reason that he lied about this. I mean, yes, I think it was significant, but I think that
This
just
is only a
opens the
10-minute
door
break,
even
right?
wider for him to be excoriated about his testimony, his actions, and about what he's on trial for right now.
Tyler,
When
what
they
do you
do
think? Do you
lunch,
think that was a good enough excuse?
I'll probably stop the stream.
Well, he did hint
and then
also
start
at
it
his
back
distrust for SLED and law enforcement.
once
as
it
a
comes
former
back on.
maybe
Yeah, that's
he
really
fur-
a
he-
thing,
on
Linda.
further
Apparently
questions
you
he may
can.
bring out, knowing how they investigated cases, knowing
Oh
that because
yeah, I
law
agree,
enforcement
Mark. Athena
is questioning
Stranskiller.
you,
What?
maybe they're really trying to zero
I
in
hate
on you.
that guy.
I don't think the opioid excuse was
What a
really good
monster.
enough
You know what I
for
mean?
his reason for lying, especially of his son and his wife. But maybe if they expound on this distrust for law
Anybody that
enforcement
can
thing,
kill
that
children
may
or hurt
help.
children
I'm not
or I
quite
can't.
sure the jury will be buying it. I think
115
the
to
thing that they
215.
heard is
Okay.
he lied and he admitted to
So
lying. I think they're going to
when they
remember
go to
that. They
lunch,
may not focus too
I'll
much on
stop
why he
it.
lied.
Well, I'm
I can
hearing
pop it till 2:15, but what I'll have to do is connect to StreamYard via my phone. Like leave this on and connect my phone so I can talk while it's live. Go pick up my kid.
You may bring the jury.
I'm in Philly, PA, so I'm Eastern too. Okay, we're back. But yeah, I think I can do it at 2:15. I'll be here till like 3, and then I can just leave it running and come on as like a guest in the studio with my phone before I leave, so that way I can still talk.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Alec, you've talked about going to Paul's body and Maggie's body. Do you recall getting blood on your hands or any part of you?
Yes.
Do you know with whose blood you would have gotten on you?
Oh,
No,
the
I got blood on
judge's
my
daughter and his
fingertips.
son. The judge's son died. Oh, that's a shame.
Can you differentiate, what, Paul?
It's probably both.
I seen that,
so
Linda.
much
That just
blood.
happened recently, right? Where she freaked out.
What?
There, turns out there was a drop of blood on the steering wheel of the
I
Suburban.
used to
Do you know
see
how
it,
that
like,
got there?
When I was the stream, like
it was
I
fresh, I put it
doing the
there.
Stream, I would see it.
If it was not fresh,
But then
Maggie drove my
I don't
car
see it anymore.
all the
So I don't know
time.
how to do it.
I assume it got there from me touching Maggie and then touching the steering wheel that night.
And then I think maybe there's possibly gun, maybe not. I mean, do you know if you got transferred blood on anything else that night?
If Maggie's blood's on that gun, then I put it there. Maggie didn't really fool with guns other than to put them up.
There's submit to a GSR examination that night?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, and that Brian Varnado testified about.
Where your hands were swabbed?
That's right.
And then your clothes were collected by, I don't know if it's Agent Owen or someone else.
That's correct.
And turns out there's some GSR on your shirt and on your shorts. And did you handle this
Hey,
gun?
Buster.
This is
Yes.
Yeah, right. I think so.
Yes, I basically had that gun with me until I put it up against my car.
He had some spring out of his nose at some point,
Police officer, I think it was Mr. Green.
or maybe it was just
got there.
spit
I put it
that he
against my
let
car.
fall out of his mouth to make it look like snot. But
I think Nolan had testified that this is, one of the shotguns Paul liked to use.
It is.
Was he meticulous about cleaning his guns?
Pawpaw?
Yeah.
No. Now, when he cleaned it, he was meticulous. It was far and few between when he actually cleaned them.
I can't
You're,
believe that he admitted that he was at the kennels. I mean, I know people
Sure,
think that's
was-
his voice, and I guess he felt like he couldn't get
Went through
around it. Huge.
analysis, and you were
I
part
want
of
to
this
hear
case
what he did
provided
with his old clothes.
results of
Though.
that, were you not?
Yes, sir. I mean, I wasn't provided at the time. I've seen him
Right.
seen all these records.
Just let me ask you, did you get on your shirt high velocity blood spatter from being within a distance of a shooting Maggie or Paul?
There's no way that I had high velocity blood spatter on me.
Had you seen reports that said that at one point in time?
I have seen reports that said that.
Just to be clear, were you anywhere in the vicinity when Paul and Maggie were shot?
I was nowhere near Paul and Maggie when they got shot.
I feel like it might bite him too, though,
After
because
SLED collected your clothing that night at the main residence at Moselle, you remember changing in? Remember what you changed into? Yeah.
I know I changed clothes, and I've learned since then what I had on, but
You don't remember? Okay.
don't remember that at all.
So-
But I understand I had on athletic shorts and a t-shirt.
Sure.
I'm dying to know
And
what
other
happened.
people, I'm not
His
going to repeat it,
slacks
but
and the blue shirt, though, because I
where
thought
did
he
you
had
spend
that
the
on when they were
night,
killed.
or where'd you go to after leaving Moselle when you left for the evening?
We went to Alameda too. We went to my mom and dad's house and we stayed there.
And who went with you?
I believe that Bus in Brooklyn and I rode together. Marvin might have been with us. I know John Marvin stayed at Alameda with us. I just don't know if he rode in the same car we rode in. But I know I rode with Buster in Brooklyn. I know that for a fact.
And the next morning, what'd you do? And daylight hours on June the 8th. What did you do?
And we basically got up and came back to Moselle.
Do you remember roughly what time you got to Moselle?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember what time. There's things I remember about that morning, but I don't remember exactly what time we left.
Like, we'll get to this.
Is
more
Crazy
detail, but
Mama here?
during that period of time,
My chat's being weird. Hi, Crazy Mama.
is
If
it
you're
hard
in
to
here,
remember?
good to see you.
times, what time things started and stopped, and how long things took?
I mean, it's definitely hard to remember. Now, looking at these timelines and all these records, I mean, it sure helps, but to definitely just do it off the top of my head is very difficult.
And we'll get to more of that. When you
Thank
went back
you
to
again,
Moselle,
Mark.
on the morning of on the morning of the 8th, did you, do you know whether you took a shower there or took a shower at Alameda or took a shower at all?
Now, I know we took a shower at Moselle. I did not take a shower before I left Alameda. We basically got up and went to
So is he saying he
Moselle,
took
Maggie's
a
mom
second
and dad.
shower that night?
They were there.
They were coming. Tell them, see them. We got up, and we got up from Alameda, and we
Yeah,
left.
Linda,
and
he
we
would
went
have
to
had it
Moselle.
all over, but he had not a drop of blood on him.
And you,
That was at least.
and do
And they tested
know-
his shirt, which
do
wasn't
you
on there.
even recall SLED coming in and searching the house for anything on the 8th?
I knew that. I knew they were doing it. Yeah.
They didn't. SLED didn't search the house
knew
or
they were-
anything till.
But I don't remember. I wasn't out in that gun room and see all that video and all that. But I knew SLED, was coming in there. I mean, we made the house available for them to come in there. So, I mean, I can't tell you details, but yeah.
Did you at one point just tell SLED they had carte blanche to search anywhere, anytime?
I told SLED they could do anything, anywhere, anytime that they wanted to. Anything to do with property, my cars, even though I didn't own the cars, I would get my law firm owned the cars. I would have the people. They had full, whatever they
Right,
wanted.
they didn't search till the 8th, right?
They were welcome to.
And
I wonder if they
did you have any
searched Alameda.
discussion, David Owen or anybody at SLED, about consenting to General Motors to get that off the car?
Every time that I talked to David Owens, I would ask him about getting OnStar data and GPS data. from
Isn't Mark
phones.
the best? Thanks, Mark.
And why was it
Yeah,
important
like
to you to
10
get
throughout-
OnStar data and
He
GPS
was like
data
10
from
throughout
the
the
phone?
whole day.
To confirm where I was saying I went.
He's chat up
GPS.
green.
At that point in time, I knew that Maggie's phone had been taken. And I knew that my Suburban and my phone and Maggie's phone never crossed paths. And that was extremely important to me. And I asked him about it every single time we talked. Single time.
And speaking of Maggie's phone, did you know her password to her phone?
Yes, I knew her password.
Did you know her password to her computer?
Yes.
Did she know your password? Okay. And when Maggie's phone was located on the side of the road, did you provide SLED the password to her phone?
I did. I think I actually provided it to John Marvin, who provided it to SLED, but I'm the one who gave it to him.
Right. And
Yes, you're all
your
good.
knowledge, did Maggie's have these location services on her phone? She used them frequently.
All the time. One of Maggie's things that she liked to do was that there's an app called Find My Friends that you can see what other people are doing and they can see what you're doing. Maggie loved me, Bus, Pawpaw, Brooklyn, Grandma, Papa T, Marion, the three girls.
Didn't define my friend that. Oh, he's
Lizzie.
got it. He's trying
And
to
there were
make
a few
it.
others, but the people that were closest to her,
I
she
see
had
what
them
you
all in
mean.
her phone, and she loved to look at that phone and see where people are, and she'd love to surprise you. Like, let's say you're at Walmart, and she'd love to text you, get me a TV from Walmart or something, like She followed you and see where you were.
He's
She
naming
used
a
it
bunch of
all
people
the time.
because
And
her
so,
phone
you know, I just knew
had
that
that
there would
Find
be
My iPhone
GPS
thing pop
data
up after it was
on
already
Maggie's phone.
thrown on the side of the road.
When
So
you're
he's
being
trying
interviewed
to
on
make
the
it look like
night
it
of
could have been
June
activated by
7th,
a bunch of different people.
and again on June the 10th, what was your understanding as to why they were interviewing you? Why were you being interviewed?
When
On June
really
7th
he
and
was
June the 10th?
probably
Yes, sir.
checking to see if it was on, to see if they would be able to track
What's the
it that
question
way.
again?
What is his understanding of why SLED was interviewing him on the night of June the 7th and again on June the 10th?
And the basis for the objection?
401 and 402, Your Honor.
What do you mean?
Relevance, Your Honor. His understanding is not important. What he said is important, Your Honor.
Response.
Well, I can, it goes to his, you know, his follow, it goes to his state of mind. I mean, that's what it goes to.
Objection sustained.
Did, why was it important to you to be able to get data from the Suburban, data from your phone, and data from Maggie's phone?
I knew at that point in time, I was the person who found Paul and Mags, that I was a suspect. I mean, they kept talking about this circle, but I mean, I knew that it was very important for me to find that, to get that.
And what was that information, what would it have done for you?
There's no question in there that it would demonstrate that I couldn't have done this.
And when was the data from General Motors off that thing?
It was either this past Saturday or the Saturday before that, according to what was said in this courtroom.
During this trial?
Absolutely.
And was GPS data ever able to be located off Maggie's phone?
No, I mean, not just to my knowledge, it was not able to be gotten. You know, the testimony was in here that it couldn't be gotten. It only went by June the 9th. Everything before that was erased on Maggie's phone.
Now, when starting June the 8th, when that Moselle, did a lot of people come to support you, be with you?
Too
On June the
many.
8th?
On June the 8th,
Yes, sir.
like the next day?
Right.
Yes, sir. A lot of people.
And you mentioned your Maggie's parents and family came as well?
Yes, sir.
From that June 8th, when folks, family came and to Moselle and you met with them, were you left alone by any of your family members the rest of that week?
No, I mean, I
wish
was
they could've
attached to
shown
Buster.
that Maggie's phone and Alex's phone were like running side by side, location wise. But I guess they can't with their phone.
At the
They
hip.
can only do it by tower.
But, I mean,
And what
no,
happened on?
I wasn't.
And what happened on June the 10th? Besides being interviewed by SLED?
My dad died. My dad passed.
And where did you stay? And with whom did you stay June the 8th, the night of June the 9th, the night of June the 10th?
On the night of June You asked me to start on the 8th?
The 8th, yes, sir.
All right, starting on the 8th, I stayed with Buster every night. I stayed with Buster, and as long as Brooklyn was there, in Brooklyn. But we stayed with, I'm pretty sure that's beginning on the 8th. I know the 7th we stayed at Alameda, and I believe on the 8th we started staying at John Marvin and Lizzie's at Greenfield.
And how Greenfield from Alameda?
As the crow flies, I mean, it's no distance. It's less than 5 minutes. It's probably a few minutes away.
And who stayed there? Did John Marvin and his wife Liz stay there as well?
Yes, John and Lizzie. All right, John and Lizzie stayed and their kids, Bus and Brooklyn and I. I know Bubba and Maymay stayed there. Well, Lizzie's mom and daddy stayed there. And my daddy's best friend and his wife came in there. I believe they came before my daddy passed. I know they came after he passed and stayed there.
And that
Oh, like if he had
many
airplane mode on, it wouldn't be able to.
nights do you recall staying
But
there?
wouldn't doesn't the go by towers too?
So
though?
I stayed at
So that-
Greenfield.
the sun
Like,
was
the 7th was a
run
Monday.
pretty
I stayed
close
Tuesday,
to
Wednesday,
Bell.
Thursday,
So
Friday,
probably
Saturday, and Sunday at Greenfield.
same
I
tower.
know that for a fact.
And the Maggie and Paul's funeral was Saturday, is that right?
Now, I heard that in this courtroom say it was Saturday, but
So the memorial services?
nah, their funeral was on Friday.
I was on Friday.
I know that for a fact too.
And then your father's funeral was on Sunday?
My father's funeral was on Sunday, and it was my father's funeral. I forget the term.
So that's
Sunday.
awful quick, right?
I mean, that's when we put Papa and Max. That's when we buried him. We didn't bury him when we had the service on Friday. So I don't think they were done. But that's when we buried them, along with my dad.
So they killed Monday night, and their funeral was Friday.
And
That's so
Alec, what'd you
fast.
do with the following week, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Starting when now?
So the day after your dad's funeral?
All right, Monday. I went to Grandma and Papa T's, Somerville.
At some point Monday?
In the afternoon. You mean what did I do when I got up that morning?
Well, where did you stay? Monday night?
We stayed at Greenfield Sunday night. So we woke up at Greenfield on Monday.
So, and night you were with the same family members, your brother and Brooklyn and Buster and?
That's right.
Okay. And Liz?
And Lizzie and Lizzie's mom and dad. And I believe Donnie and Paula were still there, but I can't remember when they left.
And then you went to Somerville with whom?
I go by myself, but I know Buster in the car by myself. I can't remember if Buster and I rode together, but I think we might have had separate cars. We probably did ride together that first day. I don't remember, but I know I went to Somerville and Buster was in Somerville with me, with Grandma and Papa T.
And Somerville is where Maggie's parents live?
That's right. That's Maggie's mom and dad. Maggie's mom is Grandma, and Maggie's dad's Papa T.
And did you stay with them for a few days in Somerville?
I stayed with them longer. In Somerville, yeah, I stayed with them. Stayed in Somerville Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then we went to Greenville.
Okay. And And what was in group?
My niece. That was
So you're staying at his niece's house? Is that what he's saying?
she was having a baby, and Maggie had just been.
Or that's where they were. Me.
She's just been so excited. So she's just so proud of those girls. She was so excited about the baby. And so the baby being born just became such a big deal to me.
So was the baby born?
Yeah.
Okay. And you went up?
Baby born, beautiful little baby girl, beautiful little mom.
And then did you go up to the lake after that?
We did. Well, I mean, we stayed at this lake, Kiowee, that y'all heard about, is really close to Greenville. And so when we really went to Lake Kiowee, but we went up there because, you know, when she had the baby, I want to say the baby might have gotten born shortly after we got there, like Thursday, but I think it was Saturday before them and see my niece and see the baby. So, you know, I mean, that's where we went, was to Lake Kiowee. But they live in Greenville.
Yep.
On the morning of June 16th, I think that was that Wednesday. I think that's a Wednesday. Where'd you wake up?
Somerville.
Did you ever go to Alameda on that day?
On Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
I don't believe so.
Did you go to Alameda at 6:30 in the morning on the?
I know for a fact that I didn't go to Alameda at 6:30 in the morning. I was in Somerville. I didn't go to any point early in the morning. I was in Somerville, and I'm not positive about this, but I know they did I know some of those records they have. It was sometime before I left Somerville.
Did you ever take during that week? Let's just start with that week following your dad's funeral. Did you ever take a tarp into the house at Alameda? A blue tarp.
The week following my dad's funeral?
Yes, sir.
No, I did not.
The day after they were
There's
killed.
been I don't know where it is in these boxes, but this blue rain jacket. Have you ever seen that before?
Never seen it before, never touched it, and don't know anything about it.
Did you did you ever remember taking a tarp at any point in time over the house of Alameda?
No, I don't remember it. I don't remember taking a tarp over there, but you know, I mean, Shelley's got something in her mind about that, and there may have been some point, but I certainly don't remember it. And it's anytime
It was literally in the
around
closet.
my dad's funeral or the weeks following.
He's saying following my dad's funeral. So what about the week before that? Or the day after they were killed? Wouldn't
briefly
following
about
would be the next week. I'm confused.
about
I thought he
your
brought it there the
recollection of
next day.
times, and I just want to play Doug from State's Exhibit 7, which is the August 11th interview, starting at 5 minutes and 52 seconds. If you could pull that clip up. And I want you to listen to this.
Okay. Tell me again what it is.
It's August 11th interview, starting at 5 minutes and 52 seconds. Can you go to 5 minutes and 52 seconds?
Who was at your house when you left? And what time did you go to the office? We have been. Who was at your house when you left? And what time did you go to the office? We have been to a ball game that weekend. I don't remember exactly what time. It would have been somewhere 9:30 probably.
Yeah,
10
he's
o'clock
playing
maybe
dumb.
at the latest. Okay. Something like that.
Al, on this tape, were you being asked when you went to work on the 7th?
Yes.
And you said 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning?
And then at the latest.
Is that correct?
No, it wasn't.
Now I've seen all these records. What does it look like? What time you went to work on the 7th?
A little afternoon.
All right. If we'll go to the Doug States Exhibit 24, which is the June 10 interview.
You know, Mr. Griffin, on that same date, though, I also, if you play that thing, and I don't know if it's right then, but if you play that further,
I hope that's what
also
the
told
jury's
them
saying.
the best way to see exactly when I went in that
Never
door
know.
is to go and get my information from my law
The
firm.
Casey Anthony, I think
And I
everyone
told
thought
them that
for
there,
sure
you know, we
that's
have
what
a,
the jury was thinking.
you know how things are electronic now, where you don't have a key, you have a key card, and you have a key card in your wallet, and so when you use it, it creates like all this other stuff, a digital footprint. And I told David Owens that he could go get it from my office.
And was that a common response of yours when you were asked about specific times, that you would give them, you know, your best estimate, but you would point them to where they could find the most accurate data?
Yes, sir.
You did that more than once?
Yes, sir.
So, view, which is States Exhibit 243, and Doug, I'd like to go to 9 minutes and 59 seconds. And here you're being asked, when did Paul arrive at Moselle?
Roughly what time in the afternoon?
You know, I would think it'd be somewhere in the 5 o'clock range, a little bit. It was daylight when we were, it wasn't dusk, dark, or late.
Okay.
You know, and we rode, you know, we just rode around. We rode around.
So did you tell him on June 10th that Paul got there at 5 o'clock time period?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I obviously did.
And was that incorrect?
Yes, sir. It was incorrect.
And what time did you, looking at the records now, what time did it look like Paul actually got there?
And looking at the records, it's clear that he got there sometime around 7 o'clock.
Did at some point in time you have a conversation with Shelley Smith about, you know, how long you were over at Alameda on the night of June the 7th? Do you remember?
You know, I don't distinctly remember having a conversation with her about how long I was over there, but I know that I told Shelley Smith that SLED was going to come and talk to her. I'd appreciate it if she would talk to them, and that she just needed to tell them the truth.
And did you take extra care not to talk to people that you knew SLED would be talking to?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
After this boat wreck that you've heard so much talk about in this courtroom, there were social media, newspaper. I mean, it went deeper than that, but I mean, there was so much talk of fixed witnesses and structured the investigation. These things that were
that's
totally
exactly what you
false.
did.
They were
Hey, Ryan.
absolutely baseless.
Hey, Ryan the
but it was
man.
said repeatedly. It was reported repeatedly how I
Totally
done
fixes.
this witness
You
and
can see him at
influenced
the
this police
hospital
officer
on
and
video camera
all these things.
fixing it.
So I wasn't taking any chances.
I want to ask you about, you can take that down, Doug. Thank you. Ask you about the August
That's it, Ryan. If you
11th
haven't been
interview
watching, Alex
with
admitted that
David Owen
he was
the SLED office
lied
and
to SLED.
I think here in Walterboro. Do you remember that?
August 11th, absolutely.
Had you requested that meeting?
I've been requesting, what I've really been requesting is some information. I've been begging David Owens to come meet with me and specifically I wanted Grandma, Papa T.
Yeah.
There were so many questions that I couldn't.
Impromptu.
And I've been begging him to meet with me and to meet with Grandma and Papa T. I've been begging him for weeks and weeks.
And did when you went into the meeting on August 11th, did you that's what it was for, to give you an update?
Yes.
And at the conclusion of the meeting, they let you know that you're their prime suspect?
Not yet.
What was said?
They said this might last days, like him him testifying.
Ms. Griffin?
I'll rephrase it. By the conclusion of the meeting, did they make it known to you that suspect?
Oh, there's no question about that. Absolutely. Now, he used a lot of, you hear it talk about how I'm in this circle and he can't get me out and this and that, but there's no doubt in my mind. There was no question in my mind.
And and during that meeting, did they show you the Snapchat video of you trying to stand up the fruit tree?
Yes.
And were you questioned about what clothing you were?
I can't remember this. I can't remember if he showed me the whole video or he showed me a picture of it. But I was definitely showed that information. I was definitely shown those clothes in that meeting on August the 11th.
And what clothes were you wearing?
The same ones you see in.
And do you remember what kind of pants?
Khaki pants.
And what kind of shirt?
It's a button down, short sleeve button down. I call it a dress shirt, but short sleeve button down dress shirt.
Like shirt you got there, but just short.
Just
sleeve.
like this, but short sleeve, and it was colored.
And what color was it?
Blue. Stripes.
And were you questioned about when you changed out of those clothes?
I was.
And did you have a follow-up? Did you have a conversation after that meeting with SLED with Blanca about what
Where
you were
did
wearing
it go?
Absolutely.
They're missing.
And what was the purpose of the conversation with Blanca?
Well, they made an issue about that in that meeting, and I asked Blanca
Totally sus. Totally.
about those clothes that I had on earlier that day.
Did you ask her specifically about the blue shirt?
I asked her specifically about all the clothes.
Okay.
What I asked Blanca about specifically was, did she remember getting my clothes after she came back? When she came back to Moselle, did she remember getting my clothes?
The defense isn't resting tomorrow that he's on the stand because he said
And
if
why were you
Alex
asking her those questions?
testifies, this will take another
Because
week.
on August the 11th, they had made an issue about me still wearing
if
those
they
clothes,
allow the
not having
financial.
changed clothes when I was in that Snapchat video. So that's why I went to Blanca.
Ever ask you on August the 11th whether, they ask you for those clothes? Can you produce the clothes? Did they ask you that?
No, they didn't.
Have they ever asked you for those clothes?
No. As far as my understanding goes, my clothes were never an issue in this case until y'all figured out, as my lawyers figured out, that there was no blood spatter on me.
Sir?
Is that objection, Your Honor?
Reason for the objection.
401, 402, and beyond in speculation, Your Honor.
Mr. Griffin.
It's a matter of public record. It's a matter of public record.
What is?
The issues with the shirt and the blood test.
It's a matter of public record.
Filed in this case, yes, sir.
The objection is overruled.
I'm well aware that my clothes never became an issue in this case until my lawyers proved that this blood spatter that they said I had on my shirt from my wife and my son, and that there was no blood on my shirt. And once they filed the documents and they proved that that was a lie, all of a sudden, the clothes I was wearing back on that day became an issue. In the weeks leading up to this trial.
Now, Alec, after the Maggie and Paul were murdered on June 7th and 8th, where did you stay and where did you keep clothes?
Right. Say that again, please.
Where were you staying overnight? Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever spend another night at Moselle after June 7th?
Never spent another night at Moselle.
Why not?
Couldn't.
He keeps shaking his head. Well, he was shaking his
They
head
don't
yes in the beginning a lot.
Okay.
And of course,
Where were you staying?
he's shaking
when
his
we
head
talked about
no, saying I couldn't go back. True.
a week afterwards?
So why doesn't he
Where were you
his head
staying?
yes earlier when he was saying no?
When you got back from the lake, Kiowee and Greenville?
His head bobbing wasn't going with his answer earlier, but now
I stayed. All right, so when I got back from Greenville, so
Yes,
that
sir.
would be so the first week until my dad's funeral, then, all right, so that'd be the second. I know Bus and I stayed with Grandma and Papa T as much as I could. I stayed with, I stayed with my brother Randy
is
a
that
lot.
Maggie's parents?
I stayed with my brother John a lot. Bus and I stayed at Edisto a little bit. But at the beginning, I really stayed with either my brother Randy Christie or I stayed with my brother John and his wife Lizzie. And basically at that time, Buster worked for Wild Wing at that time, and they've been so kind to him and he was just for just a ridiculous amount of time. They were so good to him. So he stayed with me. When he had to go back to
Blanca
work,
stay there?
he would stay at my brother John and Lizzie's because it was close. So I would stay with Randy and Christy. When Buster was there, I would almost
I know he's
always
from
go
the
to
areas there.
John and Lizzie's when Buster was there. I would go to John and Lizzie sometimes when Buster wasn't
I didn't
there.
know Maggie told Blanca.
I was Johnny Parker, one of my partners, at a guest house his mother-in-law had lived in when she was sick. That's really, it's right at the foot of Randy's drive. It's 100 yards, 70 yards from Randy's house. And I was going to move into that house until we figured out where I could live. So I had clothes there, clothes at Randy's. I had clothes at John Marvin's. I had clothes at Chichesi, which is, I think you heard Buster talk about Chichesi's, like where we went to the river, and I had clothes there. I had clothes and I still had clothes at Moselle.
So you're close. Yes, sir.
Last question.
No, were your clothes spread out? A lot of different places. All right. Thank you.
We'll break for lunch and return in an hour and 15 minutes. Please not discuss the case.
Well, that's it for the first half of the morning. I'm writing everything down, trying to see if, he says anything that goes not along with the timeline. I really wish they would have asked him, where are those clothes? Like, what happened? Why are they? Yeah, that's the lunch break. Yep. I wish they would have asked him that. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think he got a shower before dinner. I think he maybe quick got one after, or he. Yeah, I hope the state will. I'm writing down all my questions that I really hope the state will ask. Like that, I think, is a very important question. Like, where are those clothes? Where did you put them? I hope they ask, or I hope they. I'm trying to figure out where the truck Paul was driving, where it was when Sled arrived. Yeah. Well, he'll be up there for a while, but I am going to end the stream, and I'll come back at 2:15, and I'll see if I can keep it running when I go get my kid. Like I'll come on my phone. I think I'll be able to do it. So I think all I have to do is leave it running and then come in as a guest. So I'll still be able to like talk and stuff like that. They usually do that though. They just usually like ask those questions right away because he's under oath. So it like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause he's under oath, ask those questions right away. So he'll say yes or no. And then it's kind of like to the jury, like he said no, and he's under oath, but people lie under oath all the time. Like Amber lied under oath. So, all right. Sounds good. Thanks, Sarah. And, yeah, so I'll be back at 2:50 and I think I'll be able to see the chat still. So that's how I'll do it. And, I'll see you guys then. 2:15, we reconvene. All right. Bye, y'all. Yeah, I agree. Under oath is nothing to him. Killer. He's not going to admit that he killed them. Okay. All right. Well, that's what I'll do then. I'll leave the stream running and I'll call in as like a guest so that way Yeah, 2:15 Eastern time. So an hour. Did he say an hour and 15 minutes? It's 1:30. Oh, so it'll be like 2:45. Sorry guys, wait. Before you go. I think it's 2:45. Right? Because he said an hour and 15 minutes. And it's 1:30. All right, I'll come back at like 2:30. Sorry, 2:30. Or whenever it pops back on. I'll be back a little bit before then, like 10 minutes before it comes back. All right, bye. Yeah, just come back at 2:30. All right, sounds good. All right, bye, guys.